help.
Did she ever
I would need users just to test my ideas along the developmental stage.
That's it, we give her like 5 cigarettes a day now. We can't take it away. She got
funding to do it.
What would, like, but she doesn't go out. She used to be quite social.
That's what I've got.
But no, she can't be bothered.
Surely
put the other side.
for instance, there was a lady
to hire for the business, so for the
that she came to this with the memory cafe and she came in Bangladesh at the town hall. She has dementia.
Illustrators, so to help me with illustrating. I'm focusing more on the writing and stuff, so having illustrators that I like the look of their illustrations and their kind of quicker like stuff on The Apprentice that I've seen, graphic designers that they produce like illustrations within a morning, and that's it, they've produced their book, illustrated it, and it's taken me months to do. So I think illustrators would be good.
And now she's knitting.
So it's not a personalised
service.
So she's knitting a blanket for a great granddaughter.
So I could cover a large audience and can grow the business in that sense.
Do the social services.
Or even like producing an online package.
You know, social services, they reach
people that are interested in can buy. Where I'm just like
delivering.
I have a set of videos people can just buy and have access to as a resource.
And the social services don't have
whether that's school or individuals themselves.
More targeted at
so I think it's
the families then.
Digital marketing support or digital marketing?
Surely there is that
so you're not really targeting, you wouldn't target directly to who your customers are.
You know, there's another lady, so it is a wide market. I have one of the volunteers, she's 80 plus, and she said to me, find me some students that can come and teach me about computers. Because I want to keep in touch with people on computer, on internet and Facebook and that.
Something like a
so, you know, it is very difficult.
I can do the admin type of things, whereas I can just be getting on with the creative and producing things.
She would say she will,
so I think
she's not coming out. I think a lot of people are like that. She don't want to come out.
Or, you know, perhaps having voluntary people going to
she likes that's what she likes. She likes to socialise and chat. So if you come to her, she don't mind.
But yeah, I think I've
just
done
like
it before. Like
the alternatives to this.
Yes, for tangible, intangible.
So we work with like for her especially.
Oh, what's constraining
she don't mind somebody coming to her.
And what do we?
Sometimes you can befriend people.
So I'd say at the minute, what's constraining
me is the whole legality of that as well.
Lack of time and energy to do everything that's needed to be done.
Is to provide
so
boxes of activities for dementia patients.
And what I,
what I'm doing,
the way I'd get around that is getting other people in, paying them. I think looking at funding is a big thing, and
for people,
as a group,
getting other people or charities that I can work with, and like obviously they're going to be bigger, such as the MS, like MS Society, just given as an example.
To me, the people
they're quite
in a care home to meet the needs of they're all
proven individuals. In society, so it'd be easy to collaborate with them and get them to do a lot of sales and marketing and
the individual they pay me. They pay even though I have no funding or no savings. You still have to government doing things, actually doing it is to write down those activities you can do for your hairdresser.
So does most care homes are they not already offering?
What did I say?
That's the individual money, like the person is paying. That money they have, they go into that account.
Yeah.
So it is affordable to reach even to reach even people that they haven't got no one.
So can I just clarify, going back to the business?
Yeah.
Because there's a box of activities.
So that's what I want to do now.
Yeah.
To bring this box of activities.
Two-thirds of it, and then it's got the whole
just
of
going
it.
back to your offers.
Yeah.
Is that the business that you're offering, or is it the service side,
well,
or is it both?
Yeah. So I'm selling a service. So here I am coming to a care home or a community hall.
Okay, so you've got two processes.
Well, exactly.
One is the putting together and selling of the boxes.
Well, I thought because whatever I've been, just seems that people that are selling a product, they
I suppose you
more
have
advantages
good
in
companies
everything they
that
do
do
than
that.
selling a service.
And then you're also
So
selling
I'm
the service.
thinking,
So
I
two.
want now to come up with a product,
marketing agency.
and this
To
product
complement
to
that
be,
service.
yeah.
So you've got
Yeah.
that sort of.
to have someone.
specifically for that.
So
in
that's
your,
interesting because you've got
cost
two
out,
bits. What's in the box?
cost of what an agency
We are
costs
thinking
and
what
cost for
to
the
put
staff
into
member
the
would
box.
cost.
Okay, because that has to be costed out.
Staff member
Yeah,
would take
so
on
we're
that.
thinking to
People
start with
approaching people on your
patterns
behalf
of
to come to the books.
various things,
Yeah.
birds, animals, whatever.
I'm going to write that down.
People enjoy can be a variety of patterns on a paper. And they can be colours, they can be pencils, they can be various other things. I just don't know, based on
There is
people's
Okay.
choices.
So by next week, next time we meet each other, can we have
Whereas
decided
obviously
what's going in the
district
box?
marketing, if you
Yeah.
do social
Well, in
media
2 weeks.
campaign,
I'm
that
rolling,
yeah.
I want to roll this box
Yeah. Oh great. Oh great. Okay. Yeah.
because
And she
Tesco,
sells.
Tesco in
Yeah.
Barnsley, they have offered to me this community room that Monday to Saturday is used Saturdays free. So they say I can have it at free cost.
Schools directly.
And they're going to
There's two
advertise
sales strategies, isn't there, that you
Yeah.
can sell online.
that I'll be
Sell
going
in
there.
person.
Yeah,
I imagine
They're going to
you can
publish
sell
it in
online.
Barnsley Cross.
easiest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, this is true.
Roxanne from
And what are
our
those
happy
people
hands
called?
to art. She'll be
Have
here.
you got a
on
name
the-
for this box?
Roxy box.
Oh, Roxy box.
What are those people
Yeah, yeah.
called?
That's quite
The-
good. I like it.
Types of
Yeah.
kind.
A Roxy box. Yeah.
Did
That's
you-
how I remember
digital-
your name.
Digital
No, no, no.
marketing, so
Yeah.
So,
that kind of services you're looking for.
so they all
more
advertise.
specifically
So I spoke to
social
the
media,
community
SEO,
coordinator.
AdWords.
Okay, so
Okay.
what's in for them? Basically, they can be seen
Do you
as
know
a
of
step
any
forward.
good companies?
They being dementia friendly,
Do this.
reaching to women now.
I've not
Dementia
used
is
any myself
the
because
most killer.
Can I just ask you a bit? This is a technical question about dementia. The Roxy box contains certain things,
Yeah,
but is that appealed to all dementia patients, or
can be
is it-
appealed to dementia patients. Can be appealed to
can be, or
people with
is?
depression. We aiming
Yeah, there's
and
thousands of
targeting
companies,
people with
just-
dementia.
Because some
But-
people with dementia
check that they're good,
couldn't
check
use
who their
it.
clients
But
are,
we
check
don't
their
really
previous
want to
history
just
of
making them
check what
just
their portfolio is.
offering
Give
to
you an
people
idea
with
what they've
dementia.
done
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want that, or the one informer have dementia. So you want to reach to a wider target of people.
And is there any sort of like substantial research that shows the Roxy box will actually help?
Like,
Well, Roxy Box is using activities that they already.
That's
use
well
and
researched.
and work
Okay,
into the study.
because that could be quite an important part of the sell. You know, the idea that actually you've got to get your Roxy box for your grandmother was
Yeah.
you know,
Because you're
because it
using
really helps them.
these activities that are helping, they decreasing stress, they improving
And that
mental
information
health, yeah.
needs to be put onto the product and into the product.
So I think why you, again, goes back to
yeah.
It's kind of like you can do this yourselves,
Mm.
but you have to find it then.
Yes, she is, yeah.
She's experienced.
Yeah.
She's
So I have experience
Yes.
But there's
already
a separate one for SEO and then a separate
You've
one
been
for
working
working here and also
You can do
using this
separate,
at the
yeah, two separate
hospital.
ones.
And you've
But
seen
they're worthwhile checking.
I've
it
seen-
may
Okay.
making a difference.
Yeah.
What's your background?
So I'm a nurse.
You're a nurse,
Yeah, I graduated from Hallam,
Right.
2015.
a nurse in mental health.
No,
Okay.
adult nursing.
Adult nursing.
But also we have a wide range of knowledge in mental health.
Yeah, yeah,
nursing.
yeah,
I'm going to a course next week on mental
Yeah.
health.
yeah.
And
I think that's
I think you're being quite
interesting
kind
that
to
you
me,
say that because
No, it's not.
yeah, you could really
Yeah.
you
No,
could
in
be the
terms of
icon-
like,
you know,
you see it, can't you?
yes, in the way you conduct yourself,
Yeah.
I can see that
There's a real passion there.
Yeah.
it is.
and I'll show you something. This is how we measure in the feedback at the hospital. So the
Like, do you
the
have to
commissioned
be
my
in a certain
services.
stage of your business to
And we
do
started
these
for
or
6 months and now they extended it
No,
until June
it's
to
just general
46
advice about the
months.
strategy you
And this is a
employ
chap
to help
with
sell
a
your
brain
sell your
injuries
stuff.
on the M
Okay.
ward, which is neuro ward. But Hallam showed him he did painting and he did colouring
I mean, from an outside view,
And
that seems the most
his
important
feedback
thing
was
for your
his
business
first
is
step
getting them out
towards
there,
rehabilitation.
getting
Mm.
traffic to enable them to sell.
That's really good.
A
I
beautiful
mean,
singing website.
I also think that there's forgive me because I'm not an expert at all about dementia or
It
anything
might
like
be
this,
from
but
coming from Amazon,
Right.
coming from
I think there's increasing awareness of this as a major issue amongst our communities. You know, I've got a feeling you could build on that because I think there's more awareness that somebody in the family have either dementia or something. There's related things, aren't there?
I've been contacted Alzheimer's societies because
like in terms of
at the hospital as a staff nurse.
So you've got 4 more followers on Facebook that have
nothing
Twitter.
friendly about dementia people and being dementia friendly.
But I'm confident in using them.
As I said, we have the only
Was that your
emergency
question?
hospital and trauma centre in the area.
Do you know who your kind of
And
audience
that's the
is?
same
Do you know
because I
what
worked
things they follow?
Doncaster. I worked in
Groups they
Doncaster.
follow on Facebook.
I worked in Barnsley,
Is there a certain network?
and I worked in
you
Rotherham.
find?
Did nothing about
You
being
could really
dementia
target
friendly
ads on social
in this
media.
environment. And I said,
You have,
I haven't got
if
something
your
that
book
I can just
suggests
go and
posts
copy
to
and
the
bring it
parents that
here
you want
and
to buy your book,
in a
you
way.
might get some sales through that.
Like
You need
pioneers,
to
like I
define
said,
who
I
your
need
audience
your
is
help
and work out what
to
they
make
follow.
these things happen.
So there's you got
I've
your
done
resources
that
issue.
Well, exactly, because I
to
think
grow my Facebook
when I get
page
involved
and stuff.
with these services, you know, it's good because
I
yes,
think
there is my
I
awareness
need
as a
to
staff
sit
nurse,
down.
but also
Work that
the
out
way
properly.
that leading the social
So write that down.
enterprise and having that
Pardon?
understanding.
Write
And
it
I'm
down.
not just like
For your action plan for this
and it
month.
shows
Okay.
that
Sit down and
if
think
you do
about it.
join Halloween, you're most, I've seen it
Okay.
and I've got the feedback.
So we've got the it.
You know,
We know what it
Yeah.
is.
I
I think
think some
Yeah.
books and
we
you
need
click
to
it
now
actually
start
buy
putting
now, but
real
it takes you to buy the book.
plans
Plans
in
in
place
You do a
about
campaign.
how that's going to be
Have
communicated
you
out to the world.
Well,
Could people buy the
and
book direct from your
how
app?
we're going to potentially brand it,
Yeah,
how we're going to sell it and who to.
so yeah.
Or
As
it's
far
like a
as
shop
I'm
now.
But one other question that I
I
was
think
just
there
whilst
is
we're on
a
the
shop
it
now on my
um,
Facebook. I've
how
not
is
checked
it
it. I'm not
we're
sure if
going
it's
to
currently
communicate
working
it
or
out?
not.
Because we don't want to just walk to it. We
Yeah.
want to communicate it out. This is the Roxy
But you know,
books.
Facebook.
Absolutely essential
It's
equipment.
so bad because they've been taking
what's
money out of my
happening.
account.
I'm applying for some funding to the
Like a few
hospital.
hundred,
To the
like
innovation.
literally,
That's a
like,
good
I
idea,
was
yeah.
like, what the hell?
Have you had an
And
ongoing
as I'm not
campaign
very good,
running?
and when we planned
Just
this
check you've got
course, I said,
nothing running
how
now,
do
it's
you
fine.
put the
As far as I'm
the
aware,
dot
I've
on the
not
I
clicked
to be a
anything,
winner
I've
to
not
this, but anyway,
had
so I've
anything
applied to
running.
one and it wasn't
So
successful. I went to the
we did it for like 3
communication
months,
team
and each time I
and they
went to
said,
my
yeah, we
bank
can
and
help you with
I've not
this.
authorised this.
I'm still
So I
waiting on the
get the money
decision.
back, obviously.
But
And,
they said, oh, this is a link to
Yeah,
a
so
portal
Facebook have been a bit.
where you can
No, they've
upload the
like sent me
information
some
there, any
messages.
presentation
There's no way
that
to
you
contact
have.
Facebook for a
But
start,
when I
is
did the
there?
application, I
Which I
said,
think is
this is me, a
ridiculous.
staff nurse.
There's no
doing that.
support
I'd love
email
to
or
do
anything.
that.
Yeah, there is just not
So-
like an email. It's
I asked them,
Facebook
can I
help
upload
page.
other things
Is
that I
there?
do in
Yeah.
community and not just
because
like
once I got my
As
account
I've
blocked
applied
and I couldn't get in, so
from
I was also like,
the leader
what
of
am I
the
supposed to
social
do now? And then they
media
said,
company
well,
said
you
yes.
need to send us
So
your
I'm thinking
passport,
now every
your passport
presentation
to verify that it's you, and then we unblock your account. So it's a whole
So
hassle. But
go to all
and there
Please
is
go
some
public
support.
Right.
Yeah, if you.
this
I
goes
might be able
to
to
other
remember
people.
where it
This
was,
goes
so
to
you
where
send
someone
me
to
an
be
email to
anonymous.
remind me to check.
Okay,
That's the
alright,
videos
yeah.
that I have done and I can upload them from Sheffield Hallam University when it's all started and that.
So,
But yeah,
like,
I think
I
we
don't
need
think
firm
I'm very
plans to,
Exactly.
to
comfortable
brand
with
it
doing
and to
Facebook
get it
ads
out there.
anymore.
And, you know, my
I
sense
don't know what
is
they're playing at.
your website and
well, exactly. There is a website, but I'm not
We
very
need to get-
interactive.
we
with
need
the
to get
website.
something up and running,
Yeah.
a website
Might
for
be
you.
worth
I think
looking
I'm
into
sort
the
of-
Perhaps with
advertising.
your
Sorry?
with you on it,
Has like an
if we're
advertising
going to go
campaign.
for you as the brand and the
Might be
Roxy
worth
box
logging in and just checking
holding it
it's
all
active.
You're very
Because that
active
might
on
be why
social
they're-
media. Okay.
I'm very active on social media because I don't
Well, your
drive.
profile-
Provided the ability
So that's
without
on
a good
Twitter.
channel
They
when
must think
to
that is
start.
active.
Yeah, I'm on
Okay.
Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn
And-
now, I'm
okay.
sort of like
So make
sharing
sure all
ideas,
ads are off.
knowledge,
And then there'll be a way of getting in touch.
and I think I'm sort of,
They'll
I
definitely have
need
an
to sort of
advertising
like
team because
blow
Google
my
has a
own
sales
trumpet.
team for their
Yeah.
AdWords, so Facebook will have
So,
Mm.
so coming back to
mm,
the resources that we
That's
need,
based in Ireland now.
would you start working on getting a more precise
directly.
Sorry?
project
Come
together?
well, what's happening? So one way forward would be the Roxy box at the Tesco, and that can be every fortnight. That will be easy to sort of bring in volunteers.
Okay, so there's one stage, yeah.
So that would be a very good step to bring in volunteers.
Do you know who's coming?
And
you're just going to sit there wait?
Well, we're going to see. The Tesco will be advertising, and they have their contact. And a good point is, are you a carer or are you caring for someone with dementia? Come and do your shopping at Tesco. You park your car for free. You can do your shopping, and your loved one can have.
Okay, we said that.
Yeah.
But that first one says
clean services and one for
yeah.
So you need a box ready.
I need a box ready. Yes.
So what do you retail? Do you mean just like selling what process is it?
Selling the actual
To get that ready.
So I'm not
so
in
I do have,
so I don't have
lots of resources,
a huge idea of what I'd need, but I imagine
so I can do a file.
So you already have the stuff in a suitcase.
Yeah.
So all you need to do is create a box.
Create
You want to
a
create a physical
box,
box.
yeah.
And
Create a box with pencils, crayons, patterns.
You're going to craft a box.
Yeah.
I need sales staff.
Yes, that could be like an exercise where you ask people's opinion.
Obviously,
Yeah.
marketing manager.
What do you pay for this?
Website. Selling.
Fill out a questionnaire. What do you think? What else could I add?
Colours.
For my services business,
And
which is the
going
one
back to
I'm in,
volunteer Sheffield College,
they've contacted tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm quite clear of the view what I
you
need
should be willing to
human
take
resource
volunteers.
wise.
What you need is to pay your
I will be an
insurance,
operations manager
and wherever you go, they will
who's got previous cleaning
come
service
in. And I think
experience.
to go into a care home with
I'm the
volunteers
customer
and
service
when you're like
executives,
17, 18, and you're not used to this sort of environment, can be a
Right
bit too
things on a
much.
regular basis.
Some of them have learning
HR
disabilities
manager,
and that.
because obviously with a lot of staff,
Can be a bit overwhelming. But I think
you want to make sure
people are well
everyone's
enough to
happy,
come
so you
shopping.
don't get any
they're well enough to
tribunals.
interact and engage in these activities.
Sales
So
manager
it's a
again,
good point
to
for the
approach commercial
students from
business.
Sheffield College
Legal counsel,
to step in.
any legal issues.
They
you
can
run
get
into
that
with
experience that they
contractual
need, and at the same time, the
And then
room.
on the actual
the big
operations
room
side,
like
we need
this,
cleaning
so-
supervisors and cleaners. So there's always a.
Okay.
I think I'll always
Would
want
you
a
be able
ladder within the
to
company.
press ahead and
So cleaners can become
start developing
supervisors.
Yeah.
this as a project?
Supervisors
Yeah.
could become operations.
Telling us
Yeah.
exactly what you
There's
need,
always a route.
what resources you
Just a
need,
dead end.
Yeah.
I don't
stages
Yeah.
and steps.
That's
So
it.
the
And
boxes
keep-
and the insurance.
And I'd like to just
But
make
obviously there is some
one
points where there's
comment
nowhere
about
to go.
I can see huge passion.
So I think
Yeah.
my motivation
Yeah.
for staff
And I can
would be
see
to get a
that.
staff share scheme. So I
And
try
that should come over, but it has to also come over as a business as well.
This is what I'm
And
looking.
I'm searching to try and find
The
or the
business
definition of the
is-
business in a way.
interested in how the
And
business
whilst
is.
I love the passion,
They've got
and I don't want to get rid of that at all, I want to see the
This is
business in
where
it.
I am
Yeah.
stuck
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
They've got no stake in
So, for example,
Just
you
collect
said
a paycheck.
things like, "Oh, I've got materials at home." Well, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but
How
we're
much
gonna
it costs?
we're gonna have yeah,
What I
of
need
course,
in
we're gonna have a
tangible
supply
assets
chain
is
for that.
money.
You know, we've got to
Yeah.
So,
get it at good cost.
Yeah.
And what pricing we would need to have to the given recipient.
Yeah.
What's the
if
channel to the market? I'd love to see you have a website
Yeah.
up and running.
the company's large,
And you're right in the middle of it somehow. You've got the Roxy box, and on the website's describing the benefits
Yeah.
to the patients, and you're a nurse that actually you've been doing this for
Yeah.
for
And
so
like
long.
resources for that have been done. You need a photographer to take photos of views, you need a photo shoot, you need a
That's
copywriter
okay.
to write wording for your website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need the web design, you need the logo, you need the colour scheme. Like,
there's loads of stuff in there.
Places, yeah.
Yeah. But that's all
Are they
what we need to
part-time?
we need to almost write it all down to know what we have and we haven't
How
got,
many do you have at the minute?
and to know where we would source some of those resources from. You know.
But when you said about posting things online to show what you've done, what do you post? Is it like
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't yet?
No, I haven't.
So then-
There's some on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
So you
nothing
would
was that
need
portal.
so you would
Yeah.
need somebody to be handling your phone, videoing your
Yeah.
camera.
But
Or,
most of the
So like
human
the-
resources
the-
you mentioned
the
are
one coming up.
all
I mean,
jobs
do
that
you
will
have
not
all
bring
that
in
plan,
impact.
like
So how are you
getting somebody to
gonna...
document it as well?
The sales
But
manager.
then I guess from no one.
The manager would be directly involved in generating business.
At the hospital we have
Improvement and HR would be
patient
directly
consent,
involved.
yeah.
Yeah, but at the so you need to have a consent form
Yeah,
for
the
this one.
hospital, which is really good, they have their camera and
Yeah.
we got the volunteers consent because they're in some photos.
Are
But
these
for this
different
Tesco
people,
one, you
or are
might
they
be-
roles?
And
What
at
do you
the
think
photo I
These
have the
would be
consent page.
eventually, if we had
The consent
investment
form, so
board,
they'll
the
just have to sign
commission
that.
revenue,
So
these would
be able to have someone who's going to actually be doing that?
I mean, in reality, if sales
for next time you can think
No, this is too
think
big.
Yeah,
more
because, you know,
about,
quite frankly,
well,
roles are very different.
but longer term, that'll be an expensive about that.
initially, yeah,
Costing
a
process.
role would be 3
There's always
times.
things
The first person would be 3
thinking
times.
about the costing,
I think you get
process,
and say, right, you can be a bit more specialist and just do sales. You can
You
just
get a
do
friend
marketing,
for
but
it.
initially you get sales and marketing.
So good cause.
Operations manager would be
We're
a
not
master.
programmed
You're
to
doing
do it.
customer service, executive work as well. HR person will be doing the recruitment as well.
Okay, thank
So
you
you
for
start
that.
with 3 people and hopefully turn that into 6.
Three. If you intend to employ 3 people, have you thought about the cost of that?
What's your future
Yes, that'll be very
plan?
good. So
No,
this is
future plan.
the
Right now,
definitely
it's
the
not.
future.
150
Right
grand,
now.
something like that, you know, it's quite a lot of clean.
So you already have
And that's
one.
profit as well.
Yeah.
It's takeaway, right?
So that
And you
will
talk
that
about
that is that realistic now, or is it?
No, that's a few years down the
Yeah,
line.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, that's what you want to
At
go.
this stage,
Yeah.
it would be customer service.
Before I look anything, I need some
that
stuff.
would be probably 15,
I've
16
been
grand a year.
trying,
That would need obviously profit.
tried to
pay
speak
for
to the
that.
job centre,
And they would be doing.
come through ads.
They would be helping with recruitment. They would be helping with just marketing, operations initially.
That must be such
But they've got a journey if they stay with the company to potentially.
I've
grow
had,
operations,
like, first I had an
head
issue
of
with the
operations
drivers,
if the company can
and
do that.
they all want
Yeah,
cash
that's
now,
that,
so
that first office stuff.
stuck with that.
Service executive.
Do you employ
can't
people
find
now?
another.
We pull out things. Yeah.
Oh, of course you
Delivery
do.
doesn't come on to
That's on a contract basis.
not?
I assume.
No, we employ
Oh,
part-time
yeah,
hours,
push back.
and if the.
I went downstairs, there was one cycling away.
Is
Right,
it just
okay.
easy?
Yeah.
So,
The delivery doesn't
if
come
you,
there yet.
would you
I
mind?
mean, it's a bit
I'm
while
going to ask you a
me
question, but I
contacting
wasn't sure if I should ask you this.
But
what's
not,
your-
it's not going to work on pushback because
in 2016,
terrain.
40,000.
Where are you?
In
Huh?
Where are you?
2017, I want to do 120. And then
So at the moment,
Yeah.
it's okay
Yeah,
ish
and then
with the drivers.
There's no reason why not.
Them.
I mean,
There's absolutely no reason why
there's
not.
the scope for it.
Let's me just think. If you're going from 40 to 120, that's threefold. That's quite a big shift.
You know,
Do you think that's?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the commercial revenue we're going to do,
because the money I
forecast for
make,
what we're going to be making in June and July.
sometimes I don't even make
just
cash for the
Yeah.
night. It's all
Last year,
card,
I
Mm.
kind
and
of
that takes a week.
said,
to come
right,
to
we're not
my
taking on more than 5 grand of business because
No.
I don't want to burn out, and
They
it was
pay
just
me
me.
on Friday.
This year, I can probably take on 20,000
So today's Friday.
in June and July because I know we've got the
Yeah,
capacity
so
to do short
my
term
first
turnaround, get the clean
heard
in.
is getting
Sounds
trying
like
to
buildings,
recruit
so-
staff. We've been pushing.
That's kind of our, you know, Christmas retail.
Honestly,
December,
most of
November's a big
these
month.
people want to
Cleaning
that
June and July.
Mm.
Make big money, and that
Job
will
centre
help
ads
by
that
January.
they put about.
And,
they put in the
I don't mean you
branches
to
and they put it
answer
on
this
the
question now,
universal
but
job
on your spider,
that you,
I'd like to you to explore the
Yep. and then this week
the
they
turnover
they
side
said
that you
they
just
would
described to me, but then also the
I
profit.
actually
Yeah.
Because of course, I would imagine this is quite labour intensive. So the more contracts you've got, the more
one of them fell
cleaners you
true,
need to
and the
employ.
other one
But
just
that doesn't
in 2
always
days
equate to more profit,
Yeah.
quite
depending on how you do it.
Yeah.
You know.
experienced chef and blah blah blah. But
You know, I don't mean
Yeah.
necessarily that, but you know,
so
but
then, so
from
worried
previous
that
conversations, that
because I have no choice.
it wasn't the cleaning side that
I'm desperate.
was the it.
Which
It
is
was
not a
the
good
retail
position.
side.
So
Yeah, so earlier today
I'm
we
still
were
looking,
considering
I'm
potentially
trying to use
retail
word of
as an
mouth
arm.
more, go to the cash and carriers and
But obviously the profitability on retail products, you're probably talking
You do it
Yeah,
all
China
all
would be
cooking yourself.
15% you
Yeah.
can add on if you're reselling.
So I am
In
really
food services,
asked.
you can make 40%.
low energy.
Oh right, okay, that's good.
I don't know how to manage to stay awake
That's
right
not
now.
bad.
But obviously
What
that
time are you
40%,
working till?
when you go up to the scale I'm
11,
talking about,
because like I had like a delivery that I even had to go on after I finished.
my salary or
All the way in Chapel Town. Because yes, I do take them. I take the
I
reason
did.
where it is. Because it's like
I've
what?
lost it. So
13
I did
minutes
have the
drive.
spider,
And it's great
and I
one.
did cost out the future revenues.
Because you never know if they're going to
with
spread the
staff.
word, oh, this Caribbean food is amazing, you tell their friends and stuff. Exactly, so yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to enjoy
So-
this.
Oh, great stuff.
During the night.
Oh, well done.
I'll need 45
did that.
cleaners full time.
You've worked that out.
Delivery driver was gone
You've got
off
stats
for
to
like
score.
1 hour, gone
Yeah,
on.
that's really good.
12 office staff.
That's it. I had 2
Uh,
left tonight.
At the 250k turnover in 2018, it will need 12 full-time cleaners, 4 office staff.
Because I normally have 2 drivers. That was eating up.
It's 2 office staff, so that's me and the person I'm
Like
hoping to
tonight I have up to.
and
Yeah,
5
so right,
full-time
yeah.
cleaners.
Yeah.
In reality, that's more like probably
Because
2
because I cover such a broad area.
because
Yeah.
a lot of people work part-time.
I mean, those
but
figures are
because of
interesting.
that,
And
what's
I think
happening
I'd like to try and, you know, this
I'm
is what we
not
should be doing with your
operating
business
on
as
my
well. We should
optimum
get that spider
because I'm
working
the
for us.
spread thing.
Because
And the quality.
if you're saying,
No,
let's just say,
struggling, like,
in 3 years' time,
with the
you are
quality
turning
and
over £1 million.
and stuff, because I'm having to do
That
it's work,
equates
I'm
to,
having
you're
find
saying,
shortcuts.
45
Now
staff.
to do it
That's
in a
a
timely
lot of
way.
staff.
Also, I want to
For-
be here, but I
I
really
mean, how
need to
much
be at work right now.
you pay? You pay?
750.
But this is also essential.
It just seems quite high, that, for
Just
that kind
find
of
ways.
turnover.
So
To me, just
I'm
just
looking
an
at
outsider. I
I have
haven't
2
got any stats
prospects
on
at
it.
the
That's
moment.
interesting. Yeah. You've used the spider quite well.
They
haven't
might
you?
not be the best.
You're starting
That's
to get
the
some
thing,
detail
I'm
in it.
scared of now.
All I would
'Cause I'm
probably
so
suggest
desperate
is you check your figures and check it all off,
Yeah.
and then of course when we start trying to get to that in 3 years'
But
time.
also, and then on
you
the
know,
other hand,
It's
so that's what I'm trying to.
1,282 hours.
Then
a
I'm
week
worried,
cleaning.
like when I get there, I need to be
Oh,
making money
right.
enough
From
to pay
Well,
for it.
5 staff, that would
So,
generate £1 million.
I'm so, but on that side,
You need the 12 staff. but
building
obviously,
a
like I
business
mentioned,
and doing
You
that.
couldn't
So
control
HR
while
manager,
I'm doing that,
you'd
I'm
need
also
HR
trying
to
to
manage
find
45
time to
people.
build
You
an
need a
online
recruitment manager
presence
to make
because
sure if you
you
lose
get
5
a lot
staff,
of
you can
momentum
replace
and
5
more
staff quite
returns
quickly.
on the online
So that
market.
12 is
Because
this.
traditionally
this
it's
here,
free
really.
fetting when they
Yeah.
drop in. But there's,
So I know where it
there's
needs
a
to
high
go,
cost because
but right
you
now
have to
we're here.
constantly.
Could I
You know,
could I
when you
ask
open the door,
you
there's
to
constantly there.
make sure that
It
those
is
figures
about
work?
time.
I mean, sorry, you've probably done
All the
that. I just
time.
Sure.
And
Do
they're
you
the
know
best.
they seem a little bit
In
overly
Sheffield,
optimistic.
it's
to me,
more than
but
London.
having said that,
Good, but it's
you know your
expensive
figures and you know where they come from.
But I find in
One thing
Sheffield
about what
that it
our
works,
system,
and
the
people
way we do
not shut
things
it in the bit.
with the catalyst,
I shut it
etc.,
in the bit.
we're always
You know,
checking
I
the
get a
numbers
lot.
in a
You
way.
get a lot.
I get a
But
lot,
then-
but then, and I don't.
I often
I'm
see
not
it
really
like an inquiry.
My
We're
family
making
don't
an
take
inquiry
away family. My daughter
into
loves
a
take
future
away.
situation,
So there are times when she's treated
and
take
that might be based on
and
certain
that's what's at
assumptions.
that door
Now,
that day.
Oh, really?
Always,
Because there's
when
none
we
in the
make
door,
an
there's
inquiry,
no, I'll shut them.
we don't
If-
just
and I
inquire
maybe forget the
in an
names
absolute
and there's
form.
so
We
many.
inquire
So
into
maybe
our
what's other
own
noises
inquiry.
they have in.
Yeah.
We are actually
And
challenging
it
our own
stands out
inquiry
as
all
well,
the
it
time
doesn't-
because
Your
Right.
branding doesn't look
it
like
comes
from
you
a
know the
body
normal
of
ones
theory,
yet.
this.
Just,
Yeah,
it's
it
that's
actually
why
comes from a manual.
yeah, that's when I do the
Yes.
leaflets and I'm thinking I
Um,
need to stand out.
Yeah.
and
The heat.
Can-
Yeah.
They maybe want to keep
was a famous philosopher
And
250 years
Canada
ago.
restaurants don't tend
And he said,
to do
you
leafleting,
can't
if you
possibly
notice.
No.
have an
Yeah,
inquiry
they don't
without
see it.
You don't
inquiring
even know where
about
they are,
your
they don't know
inquiry.
whether you if you
Because
want to try it, and they're not always
at all
so
stages,
keen, they're
because
not
we're only
predominantly
human, there'll always be
minority
deceptions
areas and
in our own
so
assumptions.
approach.
So we've got to
approach
challenge ourselves all the
People
time
want to try, but they don't
into
feel
understanding our own
welcome to it,
assumptions.
unless it's
and
more
they'll
like
be
a sit down
Inbuilt into these numbers,
So
they might look
It's
fantastic
work
on a
while
piece of
doing
paper, but actually there's a whole
but
set
there's
of
a
assumptions,
high cost
you know,
associated with it. It's-
down to how
the
much
minimum you need to do is
how much a
10,000.
given individual is being paid.
Yeah.
And you
And
then have to go out
that
and deliver
how
them,
much
which is not-
they
£45
are really
per
contributing to
thousand.
the
And
all that kind of
Royal
stuff.
Mail
So
doesn't
I'd
charge
like you,
more
and
than
you'll be the
to
same.
for
If you could
£66.
try and
So
press your
Current
it,
income
whatever
tax
it
was
is,
£66
but cost it out.
Yeah.
But there are
Challenge your own
times
assumptions
like
at all
46
stages, because that
I
will
need to
stand you in a
plan
much better
it.
stead.
But anyway, I think I'll eventually maybe
One
in the
thing that we
interim
don't
use
ever do
local person then use that.
is to try and
So that's
cover up
that, but
you know,
online
there's sometimes
more-
reasons why we do that as
it's
human
more
beings.
real time,
Which are-
it's more immediate
I'm embarrassed about
with
this.
the online, so I'm trying to spend more time.
You know, whatever,
Like,
you know.
you can
But
actually. So I'm
That's
trying
not
to
really
meet,
intellectual
like,
at
I'm
all.
at the intangible part. where
Intellect-
I have
intellectual
to, I'm trying to
Is
do,
uncovering
like a
our
online
assumptions and
strategy
revealing them,
and to
for
make
what they
sure
are,
that I can
and
measure.
then
Because with
therefore
online, you
improving
can
on our
directly
thinking.
measure these things.
But that's great. I mean, I really like the way you've
Um,
used that spider.
Is to find the time, the resource. Like I don't have the resource to spend time to formulate.
Of course it will. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah,
But
yeah.
obviously,
So
So that needs to be
Yeah.
built into your
But if
website,
we always
you
have
do the conversion,
targets,
you have the pixel, there's so much
Sometimes
you
the
can do.
targets are unachievable,
Yeah, as it is.
but that's what
But-
we subject you to critique. You know.
So you're
That's
focusing
good.
on social media.
to give
Are
you
you
an idea
focusing
of
on
how many
social
customers,
media?
£200
yeah.
would be That would either be
on the website, because my menu has my website on it and everything. And I will push my own website because of at the moment I'm reliant on the Just Eat and the Hunger House, which takes me too much
people they know and friends or family.
Too much commission at the moment.
But there's definitely a
so it's not really
not maybe to grab 640 Sheffield,
continue.
Sheffield,
You want it to bring it back.
Yeah, it's like you just have loads of streams, sales streams coming in.
Those three cities.
So they're essential in a sense.
You add commercial.
But if I have the right social strategy, I can actually
20-hour
take
commercial
the market
contract.
from them.
That would be
Because there's like their ad spend,
need
their pay,
128 offices
lots of
across
stuff that I
the
don't
cities.
understand. But I know that there's people out there who can do it.
Probably 1,000 offices.
So just to find, you know, outsource.
It sounds, from those figures,
there's a lot I
I'll
can
be
do in
honest,
my area,
perfectly
when I
reasonable.
look at the time.
It seems like it's a small
But
slice of what is quite a big industry.
Unravel that web of
We just want to grab a couple million of it,
to be
which seems a
more
mile away,
direct.
but it's a $6 billion industry in the UK.
To find,
We
you
just want to
know,
grab a couple
because
million in the
it
north
can range in
and see
cost.
where we go from there.
They'd love you on Dragon's
That
Den.
is really, really important.
Well,
But if I can,
knowledge of your numbers,
if I can
I'd just
forget this leafleting, I have to do
They
that because
want
not a lot
all
of
my
people
business at 40,000.
care about this
I wouldn't be able to go
But
in for
to
yeah.
just
there.
the amount of business that I get
Because
from
otherwise they
them
wouldn't want you. They'd say, right,
shows that
you
it
want
works.
80% of your business for
People
nothing.
are into
So,
order food.
If we're going to go for 128 or 1640,
So I
these
need
are two
to
different
find
markets
how
or a
to
combination of
reach
them.
those
You
people.
get hybrid of the two.
Yeah, but probably that's what it'll end up being. But how do we get
That's
there?
what needs to
I mean,
be.
how are we going to show
So
those
you're direct
potential people
or
that
through Just Eat?
you're a viable option
They're
for?
all the true Just
And
Eat,
how,
but how
what's the
they
channel?
reach
Where
there
are we going to tell them?
is what I need to find out.
What?
Because
No,
a lot
investors
of, it
or-
doesn't necessarily mean
No,
that they
no,
go
I
to
mean,
Just
they-
Eat.
we want
There could be
contracts.
just
I
Google.
suspect that one of the
And
key
I
things that we
suspect
need
that
to
a
do
lot
is
of
get those
Is
contracts.
Google
But we're going to have to
searches.
have something
Because even with like voucher,
that
I've
helps
had
us get
some
those contracts.
experience with them in the past.
These guys, the guys in
And
domestic will
a
come
lot
in
of
through the
it, it's not
website.
like
So we
they used to
gain-
direct market.
So you've got a website.
Yeah.
And unsubscribe to them.
Yeah,
It's
we
just
do.
fairly wide in
by
there.
them.
Trying to
But
optimise
How do
it.
you get people
I
to the
know if I
website?
want to go out and
What's
talk
up
to my
Google
friends and I
for-
want
Oh, what's
to
up
deal, I can Google it and
So
they'll come
we're
out.
there.
So they got a
We're there on
lot of
social
that
media.
deal.
Yeah.
So you must.
They will
Somebody
come up
must
onto
have
that search.
organised that. Did you organise that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
My background is marketing, so that's
So a lot of, I think, a lot of searches,
Let me test that. Is that cleaners in Sheffield?
You type in cleaners in Google.
search engine based.
Um,
So then
I think
it's up for grabs for
Gumtree might
everyone.
have taken us yesterday, annoyingly, but they're a huge company,
So
Gumtree,
it's
so
just to tap
but we
into that
definitely need to be
market.
behind Gumtree, if not
But then,
today.
need time.
So you're a specialist in
Yeah.
digital marketing then?
Funding or budget?
So that's my
Yeah.
So is that innovation voucher
I didn't
thing?
imagine.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. That's what. But
Where did you
as John
do that?
said,
Leicester.
you
Right.
have to prepare for it. You have to.
Oh, you are? You
Your
said
business
that.
plan needs to be proper tight, and
So we get a lot
So
of leads.
it's a
through
lot
that,
of work
lot
to be
business through
done.
that on domestic
Yeah.
side.
I'm not going to be in the kitchen
Commercial
and be able to
people,
achieve that.
That's a lot more sales, and I haven't got a huge sales background, but I'm
Yeah.
learning.
So I'm trying to get this staff thing sorted
That's a
out
very useful skill, digital marketing.
pretty quickly.
That's an amazing skill. That.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But I have a job for you.
Okay.
That major obstacle. Everybody just want to be good at cashing.
Why is that easy?
Anyway,
They're happy for me.
no, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
The digital marketing side, it will be key to that.
Yes.
There are, lots of them have
And you've got that.
like other
Like
jobs,
students.
and
Great.
some of them
I really
are
like it.
benefits.
Really like it.
I don't really have this thing because it's more like chef who's
Might
my
be
main
working
job.
hard.
Don't ask
Yeah.
questions.
Getting the precision. Because it ultimately, we're going to do
You want to
something.
get into, and then
We're going to
that,
try and
how
push
do you
very,
transfer
very
that
hard
into
on a
a
few
contract?
things.
Yeah.
Not too many,
Then you've
but
got
a
a
few.
whole other realm.
If you-
And we've got to reduce risk, really. And you can reduce risk by getting
Yeah.
precision
So
in
you
all
employ
of this.
somebody,
Yeah.
then
Oh yeah, there's that.
there's loads of other
What's your bit?
And you
My
get issues.
issue. Okay.
So in a sense,
Going.
it's better for you to be in cash
Yeah, but
in a way,
You know, of course,
because there's a lot less.
So mine is
yeah, but I don't think
our
we move away from that. There's
really
other
small
options, there's
there.
other issues and a lot of problems that.
I've just named
we
as
have
a
teachers
digital
and
budget
well.
of some
And the
sort.
fines.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's not illegal.
Right, that's it.
I mean, they all
That's
do it
it.
in the industry.
That's
An
it.
education
That's
budget.
all.
I'm going to hook you up with
That's
a
right.
guy
That's the
called
norm.
John
Is it?
Yeah.
Rainford
Just a lot.
Okay.
But
and see,
there's
see what you think of
issues with that,
his
like
his
trying to
product
overcome that problem is
as
is
a
monster.
as a
Because
way of
even
interaction.
insurance.
that isn't actually in this programme, but I just want to point out. There are schemes going about that can help you with finance and cash, and I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of one or two of the latest schemes. Now, I've used these schemes before, and I've used them with given companies and clients and stuff like this, and it's been really helpful if we can tie it into the strategic objectives.
Well, this is why, you know, one of the hardest parts, how do you fill that application? How do you sort of like get to that?
Yes, I've done it many times, so I know how to press the buttons on some certain types of finance and financial structures, and of course grants. So grants are normally what you don't need to pay that back. Whereas finance, usually you have a scheme whereby it's a loan of some sort, but usually at very good rates for small businesses. But there was a new one that came out just a couple of weeks ago, early February it was, and it's called what's called an innovation voucher. Have you heard of those? You've had those.
My packaging design, yeah.
Right. Okay. Now what?
I can't apply again.
Sorry?
I can't apply again.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah. Well. It might be a slightly different scheme as well. So we'd have to look into the legitimacy of another application.
Where do you apply for that?
Sorry?
Where do you apply for it?
I'll show you. I thought I'd mention this because in some respects this can be a really good opportunity. This is the one I was referring to, although there's not only these.
I was looking a couple of weeks, I couldn't find any of that, but I was told that there was one coming out.
Yeah.
So it's basically like innovation actually.
Cool. One second, I'll just This particular one is one that I'm using anyway with the company that I'm going to talk to you about anyway. This is largely tech based, so if there's technology that we can apply into our given businesses strategically, it can be really powerful. So you can obtain between 5,000 and 25,000. You know, I think that's the scheme. Officially, now this is how officially it works, and then I'll tell you about the unofficial way. The official way is that you cost out a project that you're going to do some infrastructure improvements, changes, etc. And if, for example, it comes to £20,000, okay, you get half of it back. Okay. So
you have to pay first,
we can deal with that. There's different ways to skin a cat, but officially, yes, you pay for it and then you get half of it back. Okay. And what I'm doing with, and I'll come back to the company that I'm doing it with. It's an ex-Catalyst company in the 3D printing stuff that I mentioned last time. Yeah. I spoke to her, but I've got a few slides and I want to show you a little bit what we did and how we strategically aligned it to this type of stuff. Okay, and what I'm going to be doing with them is this: that they now have infrastructure. They're a 3-year-old company, so they were very much like you, very much startup 3 years ago. And they didn't know which direction to go in, and they were searching for their markets and searching for what their particular business was going to do. 3 years on, I think it's developed quite well, and I'm very pleased. And I like to see it as a bit of an icon for the Catalyst programme. So I've been involved in working with them for 3 years now. You know. And what we're going to be doing in their case is implementing something called ODO. It's ODO. and it's an ERP package. So an ERP package means that they've got a retail arm and they're selling online. I mentioned that to you last time. They've got 5 web shops. But that stock control system that has to sit behind the scenes is highly complex. It has to be absolutely accurate. And of course, as soon as you're holding stock, you're holding money in the stock. And of course, you're distributing it across the web shops and people come into the building and stuff like this. So you're selling all the time, and that needs to be always accurate. And then of course you're buying stuff, and then you need to know your profitability. And that part of the business is actually really quite complex. Then of course you link that to the accounting system, because it has to be accounted for. And of course to the web shops themselves. So it sounds quite easy, but actually getting it to work really well is really difficult. So we've been implementing a new technology for ages. We've been using something called cloud commerce, which we've been very unhappy with, actually. But it is strategically important. Now, to get these types of grants and these types of things, we need to have a strategic case. It's not a matter of just applying with a little form. It's actually creating a business plan that actually is showing and demonstrating how this is going to give you step change in your growth. Now, in my opinion, for the 3D printing, the retail side of the 3D printing business, which I'll come back to a few times today, we cannot grow until we've got that capability, really. It's going to be, even just doing the VAT returns and the management accounts is a problem, and it's taking far too long, and the records about stock are inaccurate. So we have to implement something. There's no, and it's strategically aligned, as we'll see in a few moments. So we're going to be applying. I'm going to make the application because I'm not officially part of the business. Okay. So I can work with the business. I can make the application either through my university sort of role or through a third-party company, you know, which will basically do the implementation that's required for that business. How the finances officially work are that the company draw out a business plan, and then they actually so there's the company and then there's me. So basically they need to show and demonstrate. They basically they'll have to show 3 suppliers, you know, and then choose one. I know which one they'll choose, you know. But then they have to pay me. Right?
Like a consultant.
Yeah, that's right. As almost like a consultant, and then they claim it back. Right. But because I'm working in this particular way, I probably won't ask them for the cash until it's all finished. You know.
Yeah.
So that's how I would get round the fact that they don't have a lot of cash spare. You know. Now how we're going to work that exactly, I'm not entirely sure. But that is the nature of things. If I can get that to work effectively, I think it's a really good scheme. You know, because at the end of the day, there's potentially quite a few £1,000s to help me with the infrastructure. Right? Now today, I'm quite keen on looking at how we can start making that case, really. So one of the outputs of the workbook will be almost knowing your strategic plan, which has to be the centrepiece of your application. Okay.
Can you just explain in a bit more detail what a strategic plan is, like in layman's terms, for a business?
That's a good point. You know, like when you start a business, you're scrabbling around and you're just selling this, that, and the other, and you're hoping for the best. You know, and that's always the case. Every business starts sort of in there, but then I think we need to take the thinking a little bit higher to say, okay, now we're going to really target our markets. Right. If I could answer that question with and I will come back to with 3D printing business because that's what I know best in a way. But when I was working with Darren, I've got a little picture of Darren actually. When he came on the Catalyst programme about 3 years ago, this is him, right? When he came on the Catalyst programme 3 years ago, he didn't know his markets. He didn't know what he was really doing. In fact, he was in a completely different business to how it is now. In that 3 year period, it's changed so radically, you wouldn't even recognise. When he came on it, he was scrubbing around with this idea about high tech. He's an engineer, basically. And so what we did was, when we started with the idea of the 3D printing business, we looked at, and the first thing was that we looked at the market growth. And do you remember that curved thing that we went through last time? We thought, well, 3D printing is actually going to be a big area. So that was the first starting point. So it was the Catalyst programme, that first question, where do I think the business is? In this particular case, I've just got a few notes here. In this particular case, what we did was we started thinking carefully about where the advantage would be. I mean, there's no point in just creating another 3D printing business, because there's loads of them. You can go onto the internet and find loads of people who just have a little 3D printer in the back room and they print stuff. This is something that we printed not long ago, by the way. You can't really see it very well on this screen. It's a terrible screen, but it's a hand. It's a 3D printed hand. We're printing nowadays. We're printing loads of different stuff. We do things like print for architects. Before they build a building, so they put a little model of the building, and then we do a lot of teeth. Would you believe, for orthodontists? So we print people's teeth, and then they can model out the things that they need to put on them and stuff like this. We do lots of car parts now as well. So we've got a big capability. So like people who build cars, custom build cars, or old cars that you can't get parts for anymore. We print in those, and anything really specialised, really. But that's not my point of talking to you about 3D printing. But when we first started looking at it, we started to think, well, where is our strategic advantage?
I do apologise.
It's all right, don't worry.
Thank you.
Take a seat. What about here?
Yeah.
And we decided that the strategic planning can't be, oh, let's have a little printer in our back room, because loads of people can do that. You can buy a 3D printer for 300 quid and start printing, and that was not what we wanted to do. And we looked at it, and we looked at it again, and then we changed our minds, and looked at it again, and it took a while, and slowly we teased out the idea that actually our real advantage, our real opportunity is retail. We're selling parts to other 3D printers, printing companies, parts and filaments, everything that goes into a 3D printer. That's what we decided to do. And that was a strategically made decision to position ourselves in a particular way. And the reason for that was that we knew that there's lots and lots of people dabbling around with technologies that are going all over the place, and technologies that are changing very, very rapidly, and a lot of it's very, very poor quality. So we thought, to stabilise our product and our approach, we supply to them. We don't do it ourselves. We supply to them. So there's two parts to the business. There's the retail side, which we started planning on, and then there's the actual service of the printing side. And the retail side is the engine of the whole thing, because as soon as if you look at the market, there's loads and loads of people doing stuff, but a lot of them don't know. They don't have the technical expertise, or they don't have the parts, or the materials to do it well. So because Darren was an engineer, I knew that he knew how to do that. So the starting point was our resource, what we've got, and our major resource was him and his, and there's another guy who works with him, and their skills in knowing the quality side. So strategically we positioned ourselves as suppliers to the others. Now if they start printing stuff for different kinds of clients, because we're their suppliers, it's our business. We get business. It's a sort of like making sure that we're getting business out of other people's business, which was quite, I think, a very important. We sort of put ourselves up the supply chain in a way. Now we're strategically thinking, well, actually, now we've done that and we've established ourselves quite well. I would probably say, with the biggest 3D printing business in the north of England, I would imagine. In 3 years, that's not bad. The other 3D printing businesses that are comparable in size have usually had some backing from a large organisation, a big company, but we started from scratch, so we're pleased with that. But strategically now, on the retail side, we've positioned it so we are supplying to people who print, but now we're differentiating the market. So we're saying, okay, we can supply to anybody who prints, but also we're going to create a brand. So we're focusing in on the branding of. So the main company is called We Do 3D Printing, which is a pretty naff name anyway. But the brand that we're pushing now is called Precision Maker. So now we're in a position where we can actually sell printers and high-end stuff under this banner called Precision Maker. So strategically we're positioning it, we're thinking it through and putting into place the required structures that can make that happen.
And that all relates back to the voucher scheme.
It does, because we didn't go for this voucher scheme because it didn't exist, but we went for others, and we went for also cheap finance, because when you start your business and you're in business, you can lock into some of that stuff. You know, I just want to make sure that you're clear that what we're doing in these sessions, I'm hoping, is thinking strategically about where we should be positioning ourselves in order to get the best advantage in a couple of years' time or something like that. I just want to add a couple of more points on this. Was because we've got two big processes in the business, right? One is the retail that I've just explained, where we're developing our branding and we're developing our capabilities to deliver more and more stuff. I don't know how. I wouldn't like to hazard a guess quite how much we're selling, but I know that with the three, because it's all online, you sell in your sleep. You know, go to bed, and you get up in the morning. Oh, we sold something, which is quite nice. And I think the retail side is probably, we'll be selling stuff about a couple of £1,000 a day, sort of thing, that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, but one of the strategic reasons why we wanted the retail side to develop as a sort of base was because of the other part, which is what I call the services, the actual prints themselves, the printing for the architects, printing for the teeth, and printing for the car parts and things like this. And one of the things that we're good at now is because we're buying all the parts and everything for 3D printers, we can actually build our own printers, you know. So that's why we've got Precision Maker as a brand. We can build our own printers, and you know, the 3D printers are usually quite small. This is dreadful. I don't know if we can make that better, really. But
can you make it bigger?
I don't know. But anyway, you can just about see one of the business partners here with a 3D printer here. Right? And here I've got another.
I guess you then get it all at cost price.
Exactly. So other people are building the printers with our parts.
Yeah.
So we're selling to them, but we're getting them at cost price. Whereas so we're positioning ourselves not to lead the market in all sorts of different ways, you know, and that's because we've got that retail part. You know, the retail part is helping us a lot in the other part. The markup on the retail is quite low. You know, for certain parts, and most 3D printers work in forms of plastics, okay, but it's not always plastics. So, the markup on that kind of stuff is quite low, maybe only about 30%. Right? But the markup on the printing side is very high. You know, we can set a print going, and it takes some hours, but nobody's doing anything to it, it's just printing. You know, off it goes. So in man hours, it's taking 20 minutes. You know, it might take a day to print if it's a complex thing, but it's not taking up labour, and we might be charging £600–700. You know, so the markup is really high on the printing side. But yes, this is Darren and his new baby, which is a great big printer. It's probably the biggest printer in Sheffield now, and it's about the size of this square here. You know, so you can build quite big stuff with it. You know, or you can manufacture small things. Lots of them, you know. So we've got a real massive competitive advantage now. We've got this massive big printer, you know.
What? We know like normal printers of ink, and then you have to use paper. What material is it like? Say it's going to print this table or whatever.
Yeah, it could
where
print
do you
a table.
feed the raw material?
Yeah, I'll have to take you around to it because it's really interesting. You know,
because it looks like skeleton.
Yeah.
So where's that?
What happens is that you've got this arm basically,
yeah.
right, and it's spitting out sort of either plastics or
it's liquid, you know?
Yeah, and it heats it up to such a point, and then it starts building it.
Oh, and it's drying.
And it's drying, and building. And people can print all sorts of things.
So like a paint.
Yeah.
They're fascinating to watch.
They are.
You see the layers build up.
When we first got our first printer, we were just watching it. Yeah, and now you see, because we've got that massive big printer, we're going to be building more and more of these printers. You know. So what we do is we build a printer, get it working, do a load of prints off it, and the idea is that we'll sell those same printers. Yeah, sell those same printers as tested under the Precision Maker name. There's strategic advantage. Some of these printers are worth £10,000. You know. Funnily enough, we just bought a new printer. It's a colour printer, a colour 3D printer, because it's just one colour. Those retail at £30,000. We'd be kind of cheap. You know, we wouldn't have paid that much. So, but we've now increased our capability with a new type of technology. We haven't tested it yet. We've also.
So what, you print it in different parts and then it's assembled.
It can be. I mean, the hand that I just showed.
So it's not like you just print it and it's ready to go.
Well, the hand that I just showed you here, we printed a hand, and you know, so it's a fully functional hand, really, a prosthetic hand, printed through, you know. But we printed the different parts and then assembled the parts, you know. And it works. The next stage of it would be to put electrodes on here to understand how you want to move, if you know. But we're not. experts at that, we'd have to work with a strategic partner. We were just testing the boundaries of our own capability with that, really, to some extent. So yes, you build it. But what's now neat in the market? Sorry, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but you can see where we've gone with our strategic planning. Is scanning, okay? So you can scan items as well. So I could scan you, you know, and you can do scanning in all sorts of different ways. You can do it through
copy.
Yeah, basically you copy it, and then you send it to the print. So you're scanning, printing. So to take an item, that cup, you could scan it in and print it. Not that you want a copy of a cup, but
it'll come in 3D form.
Yeah. It'll be. You could use it as a fully functional cup.
At the moment, it's all computer-aided design.
Well, the input has to be either designed or scanned.
I mean, I've done that with all mine. See, there's all prototypes from CAD.
Yes.
3D printed and then
Oh, so you've been using 3D?
Yeah.
Oh, so you could be one of our clients.
I used Fripp design.
Oh yeah, Fripp. Yeah.
But I guess a lot of the time that I paid for was the CAD build of my toys.
Yeah,
so
that's the expensive bit.
Okay.
So it's a huge cost, but if you could scan something much cheaper than
Yeah.
having someone build it on the computer first.
That's right. Yeah. So our strategic planning on the printing side
has to going to be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, you should come down. It's amazing. But our strategic planning on the printing side has been to improve our capability to print different types of things. So a great big printer, a scanner. We've got actually a laser cutter as well. Yeah, always. Yeah. So we feel now we've got almost the infrastructure to go into a new market, which is in manufacturing, you know, servicing manufacturing type markets, which we've never been into. We've just been printing for architects and teeth and things like this, and bits and bobs. So we're building the capability up all the time, and so our two components to the business is the retail side and then the printing side, both of which we are working towards a better understanding of what the opportunities are in both of those areas. You know, going back to the voucher is there because we have to have a better accounting system and better infrastructure to sell. So we're going to be implementing this ERP, which is probably going to cost about £30,000, roughly. You know, which is
I was thinking to apply for it to help with my online strategy in terms of for my deliveries, because most of my business is online.
Yeah.
But at the moment it's like 95%.
Yeah.
Online. So I need a better website. I need better.
That's precisely what this voucher scheme is for. It's
to automate.
yeah. If you look at the voucher scheme, which I'll give you the URL, you can study it on your own. But it is very much. Oh, sorry, I don't know where it went. But it is very much tech based, infrastructure technology. Anything like web design, selling through the web, SEO, which.
It's for SEO as well.
Yeah, you could use it for SEO.
Oh my god, over the weekend I tried to find someone to do it for me. And I found someone on People Per Hour.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's meant to be like £300 for the month to do somewhere. Yeah. And he hasn't done anything yet. What I did was I went on Skype with him, so I spoke to them, tried to interview some people. I spoke and I said, okay, yeah, you can do what I want. And since he was highly rated on People Per Hour, I decided to go with him. But now he hasn't produced one ad. Yeah,
well, I mean, this is bigger stuff than People Per Hour type idea, you know. I mean, People Per Hour, I've used People Per Hour, and it's usually things that I can discreetly say, I need this, can you do it for me, you know, create me a brochure or something.
Well, no, there's people who are doing like long contracts and stuff now.
Yeah.
So I looked at,
it might be that this could provide the funding.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, for those type of things, because I've been struggling to So it like took a month for a month, but it's something that you need to do for at least 6 months.
Yeah, that's right. This I think they mostly have a finite length, but having said that, you know, a lot of the time it's like the project has to finish by a certain day, but you don't. The relationship doesn't always need to finish. You know? But that's the way it is. And I mention all of this because that is where I would like to take it. And I'm not saying that we'll apply for vouchers, but we do definitely need to think strategically about our different businesses and work towards something that is going to work ultimately, and hopefully make every one of you a good living and or maybe more, really. I mean, the 3D printing business, it's only 3 years old. It was only established, you know, on Company's House in 2013. But it's a real success story in the sense that we're nurturing and developing it. It's been a lot of blood, sweat and tears, I'll be honest. You know, sometimes I think, oh, God, I can't be doing with it, another problem there, you know. But you sort of love and hate it, and I think business people love and hate their businesses at the same time a lot of the time, really. Yeah. But going back to the vouchers, what we would need to do is to ensure that we are placing those resources strategically for our business, and when we're doing that and we can demonstrate that, I think we're ready to apply for it. But anyway, that I wanted to give you that because that is actually where I would like to take I-BIS, you know, exploring that potential. It's not necessarily the way we'll all go. It's just so anyway, that's 3D printing a bit, and I might refer to it a little bit more later on. But today, I'd like to do a little bit of a review, working in your teams again. And I thought we might start with your strategic spiders again. And then so the format of today is I'd like to just have a quick review of these strategic spiders. I'd like to see them if possible. And I'd like you to work in small teams. I think we are expecting one more, are we? Who knows?
I think so, but she seems to disappear and the phone's switched off. So.
Oh, right. And so anyway, we'll do that. Then I'd like to get into this strategic thinking around really primarily resources and capability. Through what I've just said, a lot of the time you are looking at what resources you've got, and often with a small business and a new startup you've got very little to hand, but you're looking at what you can exploit. I mean, maybe with the 3D printing business it sounds easy because we had a guy, Darren, who came on the Catalyst programme and he had a master's degree in electrical engineering. So he had quite a lot of skill, but he had no resources whatsoever, you know. And his business was completely different before he came. And he had nothing, you know, he was just sort of like, oh, I've got this idea and I'd like to get going, you know. Probably further behind than you are currently. And that was only about, well, just less than 4 years ago. But a lot of the time we are looking at our resources that we've got to hand and the resources that we can pull in to try and make it happen for ourselves in order to achieve strategic objectives. And that's the sort of thing that we're going to be looking at today. So there's several components to this, and we'll spend quite a bit of thinking time on it. But I'm going to I'd like to just swap so that we all know each other's businesses a little bit with the think tanks, and then we're going to get into what I call core processes. What are the core processes of your envisaged business at this point in time, and then what is it in the future? And then we'll look at the resources and capabilities in your particular industry sector, just like we did with the 3D printing business. With the 3D printing business, we knew that there's a lot of serendipity in that technology at this moment in time. We want to have high quality, workable machines. A lot of the time, a lot of these machines don't work very well at all. A lot of the parts don't work very well. The filaments are You know, because a lot of it's plastic, which is like a long, thin thing. But if it's not good quality, or it's not been produced with good quality, you get little blips in it, you know, little sort of like, it gets a bit thicker at some stage, you know, and think, well, that's no good. You go through a 3D printer and it just stops, you know. So it can't work. So we knew that we had to find parts and filaments and the technical side of things to be really, really good, so that we knew that it would work. If you're going to build a business on it, we knew that that would be a key competitive advantage in our particular case. And so we're sort of like getting into what we have available, what is our strategy, what is our focus, what we're going to do to make it all work, essentially. That kind of thinking today. We've got a number of different models and structures that hopefully will elucidate that. By the end of today, and we have to finish promptly at 4 max, okay? By the end of today, I'm hoping that you will have a really strong sense of, not necessarily your own strategy, but a strong sense of what you need to do and what you need to think about to get that strategy up and running. You know, I think in a day we can't formulate the strategy. I think what we can do is put some key pieces into place ready, in that sense. Okay? Is that all right? Shall we get going then? Could we just have, you know, since you're working, 3 of you and 2 of you, would you mind just going through your strategic spider with each other? There's a few key questions I'd like you to ask yourselves. So I'd like to understand, or you to articulate to each other what your strategic spider looks like, focusing in on the things that we looked at last week. But in particular, I'd like to explore the 5 forces, if you remember that, you know, or something to do with the industry life cycle as well. Have you really used that to think through what your business actually is? And what about the stakeholders? Who are your stakeholders? But in particular, your customers and other people involved in your business. So I just wondered if you could maybe have 15 minutes or so each to explain to the others what you're doing, and the others press that person to challenge them into thinking more carefully about their particular product, businesses, etc. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it might be half term.
Yeah, we had a lot of some illnesses, some half term, childcare, yeah. So we're doing a catch up with people who can come to do, and then through March we'll all be back together. And it crazy, there was something last minute as well, so because people weren't very well, so yesterday we should have had 13 people, and then never mind.
This is also difficult. It's so difficult and I really turn that way, isn't it? I think.
Alright. Yeah, I've got my big sheet.
It's funny, I was just saying, it's like getting your business knowledge and things and brain.
I think it's good because so you're what
Okay,
you do
so
is caring is such a part to what you do. You put your business head on.
Yeah.
You try to think about making money. You don't just sit in something very well, but like you say, that helps you get the ideas out of your head. You need to make a living. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, I thought with our first catalyst there's a lot of people started because they really strongly believed in something, but that belief doesn't necessarily sustain them. We've all got mortgages to pay, and we've got to translate that passion sometimes that's there into an effective, sustainable business, really. Otherwise people can't sustain themselves.
So maybe if we just
You're doing your passion and then at the same time working, because and subsidising your passion for
I
the
think we actually worked
with the
more
working,
on
which is not quite the right way around.
But also the box
finding than we did mine, however. I've seen you actually since last session.
On the accounting course.
It doesn't need to be money. I think if you're selling something
so
that's of good quality,
my business is raising awareness of disabilities through children's books.
in a way.
And
and improving whatever it is,
on
the
partnerships
service
and
or
alliances
product,
that I
is something we
probably
need to strive for, and where we
have.
position ourselves.
and
A little bit like 3D printing,
that would
positioning
be,
ourselves as suppliers to all the other 3D printers,
publishers,
our
schools,
clients.
social groups.
That's right. Well, they didn't probably outsource it to us. They might
social
have
groups
printed
such
it
as
themselves, but we'll probably
like
have supplied
specific
it.
ones with illnesses and
You know.
disabilities, like support groups.
But
sort of things.
that was, I think, a
NHS,
difficult
whether
move,
that's
because of course as soon as you get
independent
into retail,
wards
you
or
have to
children's
stop.
wards and things like
But
that.
it was actually strategically important
Charities, there should be
for us. Now, I'd like to think that that's what we're
again
going
specific
to think
for
inclusive.
certain illnesses and things.
But it is difficult.
And like, I don't know, the British Heart
If it was
Foundation
easy,
or
I think we would have
NSPCC,
done it.
that sort of thing. MN Society,
I'm gonna make just one
these
more
different
phone call
charities that
to
would
start.
probably be interested in buying in the books. And R&IB for blind people, because my books are accessible, so I've got like audiobooks and braille as well. R&IB, I would assume would be interested.
Might they be clients as well? Sales.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And then these where you are currently, these are all ready contacts that have a
22 to 24%.
build.
I want to
But
build.
when
I want
I
to
look
build.
on the set, by the time you had VAT,
So far it's mainly
and everything, it's
like
really
social
hard.
media and people that, you know,
Yeah,
word
because
of
yeah,
mouth
because there's
sort
no
of thing. People that I know and events that have been dominating so far, but I definitely need to build on them.
And we must have to start to do that exactly. Who it is you want. When you say publishers, are the people that you already know that you can start to report?
In order to,
I've
you know,
like made a list of
publishers
publishers that I think would be interested. I've contacted one or two, and some have said clearly like, sorry, we don't do this sort of thing, but such and such publishers would be interested. Get in touch with them. So yeah, and some they're quite bad at getting back to you. On their end, it should be distributors. Because one of the guys said to probably have a distributor and help me get things out in books and things.
So do you just self-publish now then?
Yeah, so far. And it's not easy, to be honest.
If I look, I'm not sure.
In the sense that, how do I do that? So for the e-books, it's just producing it, creating and producing it yourself in however many copies you want to produce, and then being responsible to distribute them to places directly. Yeah. But along with that comes with all the marketing and all the like. And to be honest, I'm not very good at like talking about myself, because I just think, oh, I don't want to. I get really shy. So I'm not very good at selling.
But you can always
Does that make
make
sense?
them, can't you?
And that is one of my weaknesses. I just almost presume that people don't have to sell, that people will just see you know, the uniqueness of it, but it don't work like that, does it?
Because I didn't want to pay at one go.
If I was thinking, let me, okay, if it's online, you want people to be able to search for your type of book. So that's probably the best route to find people. What kind of engagement campaign or brand awareness campaign, I don't know.
I realised you didn't reply all of yesterday.
See, I wish there was like a team of people, you know, like volunteers or anything, not necessarily paid, but like behind me. And I think it's just like
it's one of those,
everything by yourself. It's a bit like, oh my god. Like I want someone to fall back on and ask questions like reassure me or just keep me on my backside sometimes, you know, like, you know what I mean? It's just like very, I find very difficult doing everything by yourself.
And I did say to him, like,
so building those kinds of networks and
so I expected to see something going on, and then it's no problem.
Yeah, or like just people that I come across that are interested in the idea, just like help voluntarily so far.
When you sell a product.
Yeah, something like that.
Is a product.
A service is
I agree.
Because you know when I'm
I'm thinking
Yeah.
Yeah, and people think they print it as and when it's required. Yeah, I have had a look into that actually.
More likely to make selling if you sell a service.
And even like selling what I have on eBay or Kindle.
Because
Amazon.
sold the product.
Oh my god, I need some coffee.
If I
Not
had
the wrong word.
knowledge,
Yeah. No, I have
to do a
looked into
service
that
and
actually.
a service,
There's
because
so much to do,
the
it's
whole
overwhelming.
startup is
Honestly,
there's more sales and marketing.
so
for me,
the
if I
products that
could
I,
find a
it
service,
doesn't seem that I finished this
I would prefer
bloody large diagram.
that. Or online business I find it, but the stock.
In
all
terms
the
of
stock
products,
is-
so far I've got
yeah.
the physical
And I
products.
hate the wastage. It's oh my god.
Sorry,
This industry with the most wastage.
Sorry, of the software. Is half done just this week or next week as well?
Okay, so I do some speaking
Well, I
as
think it was
well,
last week.
and
So
workshops.
what is split over the countries here?
Yeah, because my daughter.
And that's the project that I said that
the
I'm
whole bunch
working
was
on
off
at the
last
minute.
week.
It's not like finished. Working on disabled superheroes. So
Sheffield,
that's
apparently
like
some
ongoing
schools in
process,
Sheffield was
ongoing
last week as well.
that I'm working on. And
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
physically I sell to children and the parents. So it's not even though children are my audience, it's the parents that buy it.
Yeah.
And then looking at next year,
I can't remember what we're learning now. I'm trying to see.
I really don't.
How did you
I
guys
don't
do
really
the
don't
last
know
time?
what
Oh, you
to
filled
do.
yours out like that?
Yeah, it's actually integrated.
Looking at how this goes.
You targeted or spoke to any of the schools in Sheffield that for special needs.
So to me, my biggest thing is
No, I haven't.
obviously we have the TIBAs.
Again, I've made a list of
functional
some
products.
local ones, but I need to make the
The
contact.
strategic goal is to create a brand.
So you already
Skill
have
for the
key
product.
products and you're looking just to focus on net revenue.
Juice, ideally, a little
That's
TV program.
Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah,
that's probably our fix.
because it's already there and it needs to get
So
out
we're
there.
focusing on the marketing.
Yeah.
But we really
Yeah.
want to get into the bigger retail outlets.
So where are you currently?
What's it called again?
Squidge and Pip.
In that
Squidge
And Pip.
Squidge.
It's going to be Squidge.
In terms of selling,
SQU.
in terms of selling,
IDGE.
again,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
online and face to face and at events, but I need
Is it
to
all that,
sort out my
how do
website
you
actually
use
because
it?
at the minute it links to my Facebook page
Well, I know
and my actual website. I need to sort
I
out
wanted
a
to
shop
correct-
on there and stuff so
compare it
people can.
So when you
Just
say
come
online, it's your own website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Facebook. Facebook,
Yeah.
I've got quite a big audience on there. So getting my shop sorted, whether, yeah, I think it needs to differentiate from
She's got a lot of-
linking up to the Facebook page. I have someone working on that at the minute. I need to chase it up actually. Yeah.
Jamaica's English speaking.
So that's where I am at the minute, but I need to make contact with local schools and yeah, definitely. Hopefully that makes sense.
Dark colour, but she wants to like have like a whole.
Yeah.
She like, as you
Like
said,
they talk in
Yeah.
As you go through the year,
Exactly.
more sales you make,
It's quite
you build up that
interesting. Then we
support
should have a look at it. But she's got a lot
Yeah.
of shares.
I mean, like some of the
Julie,
people that I've come across
ZU,
haven't just been children. It's been like young adults, like 20s. One or two have even been in their 30s, and like
for some reason,
yeah, the adults mostly have been autistic, like from the Muslim community, And like,
I don't know how she did
2 of them I can vouch for.
But she got a lot of,
like, without sounding horrible or harsh, but
she was
they just want that social, like, people socially to want with them, and because I have, they're almost like, I don't know, almost clingy, not clingy, but just like really, really looking for some sort of friendship or something, and it's, there's so much that needs to be done. You understand what I'm saying, don't you? And yeah, I mean, books has been a starting point, but like the more and more like I'm seeing things, it's like, gosh, there's so much more than books that needs to be done. I guess in terms of disability awareness, it's kind of like, that's a starting point, but like even I think individuals would benefit from coaching or something.
I think it would. I
just some sort of, I don't know, and regular socials
the word out, because she went out.
Yeah, so it's being strategic is key, isn't it?
Because I can't see being quite
on the books.
No, the rate at
like
which she went.
in the retail
she got it in the Jamaican paper. But she did a bit of on YouTube. She did a bit of
because of that, they can do other things. But for you, might be more building networks and
TikTok video.
So he's got what, 1 million views?
Not that many, but he's known in Jamaican quite small. So she got him to do that.
Like if we look just a
And
year
she got
ahead,
the newspaper is there.
by
But
this
she
time
then she
next
got
year,
on
what
all
kind
the
of things do
major
you think you need to have put in
companies
place
in the UK to take it
to
up.
be at that
Just
stage
be
where you
interviews
can
and stuff.
start?
But I need to ask her, because maybe you need to do something like that to let it go out.
Okay.
Like videos are quite important. Right?
So,
I don't know if she got in the standards, to be
I'd
honest.
say,
But I mean,
like, definitely have my website sorted
yes, she went
ASAP.
from LBC, which LBC don't just pick up anything.
I feel like producing
Because I
like
guess once it was in the standard,
at least 1 or 2
LBC
more
picked it up.
sort of
But
books.
she didn't go on, because LBC is quite controversial. I didn't feel
I have 2 different titles, but they're in different formats.
Yeah, but they're all
So
over
I've got 2 titles, but like ideas are always cropping up, and I think I've,
they're quite
before I lose the energy about them, I want to, even though, I mean,
then I said,
I don't know what I'm on about, I need some coffee.
Like, but I was quite busy.
Get it down on paper before.
She would get quite easy brand.
Because when you look back at things, it's like, oh my god, what I've written then. Like just now, you forget what you write if you don't do it then and there. Does that make sense? So it would be nice to write a few more books, and like I think working locally in terms of the workshops, having contact and then like even having volunteers that help me do them workshops, or having like a system that works that then
but it's part of its
I don't have to be there to do it.
Yeah.
So other people can deliver
so
them.
it's like saying people they should
So almost like even selling packages to schools, like having a package ready, I could like produce produce and design the workshop and sell the package to places where they can deliver it. Or I was thinking this the other day actually, in terms of speaking.
You teach your children to identify.
I did this at this university, I think last week, where I was speaking, and I was so anxious, like 2 days before, about the speaking gig that was happening.
So it's like about the identity and
it was
culture.
taking over, and it was ridiculous, and like I was panicking, and I was thinking, just like fretting over no reason. I don't know where it came from, because I've done other for much bigger audiences. So like I was thinking like maybe even rather than being there physically, like having a set of videos where people could just like play them, and that would be my speaking
package.
Just a certain way.
You've got the books as products, so
I'll
just join you if you don't
I will ask her what she did, if she used, because I'm wondering if she used like, because there are programs now, we can put your data in and they can feed you out to different like media houses and
easier in a sense, and like cover more of an area.
I would be
than
like,
trying to do everything
you
and then get exhausted from it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's quite a snowball effect there. If you had, say, I don't know, 5 schools and 1 teacher from each school,
And
that you trained, and
what
then
was
they
the
go
upshot
on
then?
and deliver it.
Yeah.
So at the moment, so the main
And like having
product is teethers, but they definitely plans to build.
Sorry, just before you move on from that idea, how, if that was building
Building
characters,
characters,
what
like
would you need to start putting in?
Books, TV programs.
So you said first you wanted to look at your website.
She did that as well.
And then maybe
She
build
did
a
a big
page.
book.
So what's using the characters specifically what
I think it's quite easy to do that now, like to get
to
writers, like ghostwriters or something.
It's just
realistically in a year. I think it's sensible to say about
Maybe you should
5.
But I guess
that.
when you
To
do
five.
recognition of brand recognition.
But then
Well, she was doing
producing
that
like
and using social
resources
media
And I
to
to
know
go
you
with the
can't just
books,
putting other products out there
worksheets,
without something
discussion points, and like
But in order to build awareness,
building
you
up the
could- if
package.
Yeah.
Building up
not
the
so
package.
expensive.
Okay, I'm going to
She-
order it
Yeah.
actually.
Not so expensive.
I guess it's all for babies, though, isn't it? It used to be a tangible product.
And it'll help to
For
cover more
babies.
ground.
Yeah.
Once the
Mine's
package is ready, you just
Yeah,
contact
but for
schools
the books,
literally, and
it
then
would be more the
just-
parents reading from.
it can
Kindle.
cover
I guess it is.
a larger area, bigger than South Yorkshire, if that makes sense.
All babies have.
So that'll be quite cool.
Yeah.
I know.
I guess, yeah, you think
Um,
about, yeah, that's
they all have the.
So you can buy online,
Got
you
nice
can
had at the age
distribute to
of
them.
1.
And send them off.
They can.
Yeah.
In a short while, I think what I'd like to do is explore how you differentiate your product.
Because I found like driving, honestly, like
because I
um,
mean that's an interesting point you raised about
at the
how
minute,
technology
like
might
fatigue is a
might be
big
able to
thing, and
differentiate
like
in some.
driving locally
in
is
some
stressing me
parts.
out, and it's like, oh my god.
Even though I don't
So
agree with it.
yeah, long journeys
They're all
is
good. One of my
just
friends,
looking
the
quite
little kids are like,
horrendous. I'd rather have a chauffeur
Yeah,
that drives me
Oh,
around.
it's a really good baby.
Yes.
I always like to build an app. Just where babies, I mean, it's learning, they do jigsaws and shape matching, so it's all,
yeah.
they're not watching the news or something, but
They have the child tap handheld.
My goddaughter, she was watching on YouTube the I-BIS
15 minutes each.
So she was found
Yeah.
and she was online every time.
So mine's quite small, but
So what she
I've got
did, she left the
it's quite a
city
mature
in the
industry in
front
cleaning
room.
services.
When she
It's
found
quite
the
big.
bedroom and closed the door.
Quite a lot of big national
The little
players.
girl
There's also a lot
did.
of local franchises.
So I don't want to see you watching this.
Yeah.
I've entered
Yeah,
it, so I feel
Taking
quite out
it
of date
like,
in that
you
you
know,
can
the
book
phone
online
with
with
me
us.
or whatever the
So-
translate.
it just was clever enough.
But
The online
going
booking
out,
companies
into
are
the
still a
bedroom
bit of
and
an
close
arch
the
on
door.
the mature
And
industry,
she had it on.
but
While
only
she was
so long.
going on,
So
but
eventually the
back to
franchisees and the national
But
industries
even that made
will
her cry.
start
But
to
then
do
I made it
online
time.
booking as well. So I need to kind of
Should we get back
get
to
ready
this?
to the point that we can compete with them
I mean,
and start offering services, or at least
You've got here. I can see your dimensions, but I can not see
really good quality.
what you're going to do to do it. You know,
So then,
from this. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that you haven't thought it through. I'm just can't see it. And what is it that I mean, I know you've got your teasers, but is that the product, or is that
in terms of
just
staff,
part of the product?
how many
Or is
customers,
it-
how many hours per week?
Is that it, or is it like you say? Maybe it's
target.
it's apps and brand, and these teasers are just part of.
Yeah.
You know,
Probably 12 full-time
Yeah.
staff.
That's what we need to explore. What is it? How are we going to get out there? You know, you've got your sales channels. But what are you selling? Is it the teasers per se? Yeah.
So in those services, that in reality probably a hybrid of both. So I might have 30.
Yes. See, we've got educational products here. Yeah.
What are you doing now in terms of
So
marketing?
it's good to have both because if you lost a couple of commercial clients,
Trade
it's not going
shows.
to rock the boat as much as you've got some domestic businesses churning over.
You have some PR.
Also, with house cleaning, it is a bit of a luxury, so people
It's
can
not
decide
very
to cancel at any point.
Mm.
Whereas
No.
commercial cleaning
No.
is really
Do you
once a week, twice a week.
market
That's not a choice they have because it's
Social
social
media.
media
Yeah,
purposes.
or on
Yeah.
Instagram, sort of Facebook.
Whereas houses, people can decide to clean themselves if their finances are a bit restricted.
I'd be very interested to see whether
that's
or
what
not
So are you
is
doing
available.
full time or are you just doing
Part-time work.
You doing part-time?
Yeah,
Okay.
too.
kids.
Obviously, there's a lot of costs involved. Obviously, I'm staff
full-time plus.
Okay.
Because I know there's some, I saw
profit is actually quite
stuff that you can
it's
do.
15%, I imagine, at 1 million, so
If you have time,
$150K. No, like for social media marketing, always going to be. Now, I think we're about 20% after all costs gone out.
Let's just do like if you're not that way,
going to 15, the bigger we get.
Because there's one called Mars, and Mars could evaluate.
But it has got me thinking, this talk about retail.
Your whole online.
The suppliers we use, buying cleaning supplies, aren't very good.
So it's like what it does puts your website in
the price point, so
evaluates your
potentially one route I can look
audit,
at is how much wholesale costs are for toilet cleaning, multi-surface cleaning. You potentially build a side brand that sells cleaning supplies, get a unit and distribute to other.
I mean, the
SEO
could, and that kind of thing could be wrapped up into one of these voucher schemes as well. It's a possibility. But what I still would like to do though is explore exactly what we're selling here. Is it switch and help as a baby teaser, or is it a brand that's going to go out in lots of different areas?
I guess the way I see it is the team is uploading all the products, and that's what we have physically at the moment.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
the
brand has to fit around that.
I've got to fully cost out that.
Other spin-off products.
I can't store that many clean products in my house.
One of them is
what would the storage in the garage cost really be? What?
But I guess the teams need to be successful to bring in the income.
Yeah,
do the other thing.
Yeah, but what
no point
this morning.
Can't you have like
but in
3 different stuff at least? That's
I think
and then to see maybe
as you
said, I can't remember
we've got good online presence.
Maybe
so
it's not in the team. Maybe that's not what's going to make it. So how do we test all the ideas?
Oh, I haven't got
selling and
we've got all our savings
so that's my
family investment into this already to get to this point.
Yeah.
Can't keep putting more money
What
in.
about how are you selling the teasers now?
So wholesale and on our own
website.
So we put some whole load of new customers on the page. So I guess we're already a year down.
Yeah.
We've now got 25 stockists, so it's just about building that.
It's finding
creating the interest.
Or considering a swap, it's finding them before they go
being consistent in the market. People need to see
SEO wise on office cleaning,
trade shows and that.
Domestically, we're there, we're up top, but office cleaning is a lot more.
I think social media is the best bet.
We've got those 1, 2, 3 spots secured, so we're not going to get that many.
The average person doesn't go to trade shows.
That's what I think telemarketing
that's building the wholesale side of
business.
So you've got wholesale, and then you've got people that buy the actual product. And didn't we say last time that maybe one way to the market is a gift
which would be social media.
And the thing with our product is it is a high price.
So I've not actually used the product since it was
so it has to strategically be placed in the right kind of boutiques to be the right kind of customer. Hence going down the wholesale.
If it works, it pays for itself.
It's made in Britain.
It's made in Britain. When you go to looking for that baby shower gift or friend for a gift, the majority of us would go to the baby boutique and find that lovely special gift. There's an online presence.
I'm doing everything. I'm doing every role. I can't offload any office tasks because I don't have that other office person. So whether I go to get a start loan,
have you
tried to sell on traditional next 6 months to turn 2 and all.
But our own Amazon
get started
that's
in the first 2 years.
been that great.
No.
Get 5 to 20.
The way Amazon works is you have to have loads of sales to get to the top of the page. So how do you get those sales?
Well, yeah, details around May, because we make a lot of money
on the
advertising
creating
for the students.
So
I'd feel a lot more confident to get the loan just before that. Put someone in the office. So
eBay,
whilst I'm supervising all these building cleans in June, I've got someone who's managing our actual clients, so they're not getting pissed off with anyone in the office.
It might be worth a try.
So I think that might be a good time.
Maybe maybe market to like other countries. Maybe you have to find their version of
Amazon
that are even leading British brands, like Japanese, Russians, and stuff. So maybe find a way how to get it to market.
Just mentioning earlier, NHS on Thursdays. They have babies all.
I don't know how that sounds. It might all sound mad.
Very well. Or really kind of so there are.
I mean, there's
ran off to retail now, so
Yeah.
it's trying to
Yeah,
focus
the
on one
idea
thing.
of
isn't
it.
it?
So the staff that you're currently recruiting are cleaners rather than...
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So well, I mean, when I first launched
Love
it,
connection. Yeah, you know, like, yeah.
self-employed, people who'd already had cleaning jobs, they were their clients, and they said to me, I've got 2 days a week, 3 days a week.
And all the
And I said,
nurses,
look, I've got this brand on this website, we're taking you all the time,
baby showers, everything, about the baby
and
showers.
that was working
They
well.
all have baby showers.
Now I'm back, I kind of want
So American
my own staff now,
that is
because I can uniform, train, I'm kind of building a bit of a career ladder that you can't do with self-employed staff.
Or you could have product alliance, like
Employed,
what other
I can say,
product could it go
increase your
against,
pay
like
after a period of time, period of service.
With.
Yeah.
Go with.
Supervisor.
in the gift.
I was always thinking the same thing because when you said nurses and
brand control.
but I was always thinking midwives. It's like, you know,
Yeah, but
because
the demographics is the thing, it's not a mass product.
Yeah.
It's not. There's so many teams out there.
Yeah.
We're not.
I think on a couple of occasions, I mean, luckily I'm quite trusting of the people I've got, but I know
There was
it's
this program
definitely
I'm
the
telling
industry
you,
that
because it's a lot, it's
cost home
it's
costs
a love
say
to
to
me,
me, can you work
Sorry?
it's a
separately?
love to
So it's no way of controlling it. It is
you have to
actually
look for those
Because
things who want
they
something
just say, oh,
different
cancelling,
and
you don't need a cleaner.
yeah.
Mm.
So
And
there
the
was
cleaner
this,
will just clean on a time that they said they're not
program
available.
on telly,
So
and it was more in the luxury.
we haven't lost
I've
too many.
watched that.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
the Christmas tree,
Yeah,
all
oh
the
my
events
told
and
me
stuff.
clients
So
asked
it's-
me to clean separately, so they've been quite honest about that, which is good.
Yeah.
That's the nature.
right, okay. I've got a good understanding of the problem. I've got no solution. Shall we have a look at the
It's just a luxury brand, it's a luxury dealer, so she has to target our alliance with the luxury.
Yeah, sure. Not necessarily.
So I should say the independent stores,
This one.
maybe store, but like
So the industry-
other
the industry
mainstream
is-
products that she could
It's
go
made
with.
for franchises,
It's like
some
not the lady
individuals,
that did, she did personal
local
buying or
competitors, national
selective
companies.
Yeah.
for these type of things. So maybe go back and look at that program again and
So I
see
think
if you get any clues.
it is quite easy to
So
set
how
up
you
things
would
and
take
it's-
We want something that will really go
So you
viral.
could get yourself
I think I need
on
to
Yes.
within a month, I'd say, if you went out flying,
But that made in Britain is quite
knocking on
good.
doors. But to actually get
I mean, do you
It's not-
do you
it's
start
not-
it's
Google
it's
and
all you
that kind of stuff and get
that's what
that
you
focus,
focus on.
it's quite hard.
I think the
So-
Chinese market.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not too
so
worried
then
about
you
new
say
entrants
this
now
is
that
quality.
we're 18 months old.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
What about
it's
your
not
business?
losing
Should we have a
your
quick look at
clients,
yours?
it's self-employed staff that you work
For a
with.
few minutes.
My love
making
hate
sure you
business.
find
You love hate
Sometimes
business.
franchises.
Sometimes I go home and then I have a good night.
It's
Last
quite
night
an
I was a good
interesting
night.
industry. It's
I can't believe
that.
we travelling.
10%
No,
of
go back
households
as well once
have
a week. I
So
try
tell me
to-
about your
No,
business.
it's-
in the
it's-
UK.
Just
In
remind me.
America, it's 25%.
What
So
I'm trying, I don't know.
But then also get
I
more
need
competition.
to, we're selling.
And are you local?
I'm
Then
not-
just local.
The conversion rate
and
because of
South
the
Yorkshire,
is not
we do go to
that
the Peak
great.
District.
I need to
I do want to
standardise.
go to Leeds, but
The recipe.
again, like I said, without enough
It's not hit
staff,
and miss.
I
Is it
can't
recipes?
take that leap.
No, I'm selling for food.
When I have
The
enough
recipes
staff, what I do
That's
is
why I'm
I
asking.
Leeds,
Yeah,
once a month,
no, yeah.
in space and
So,
spoon cleans.
Because I'm doing the cooking by myself. I'm doing everything by myself.
Yeah.
North Leeds especially got quite an affluent area,
So
so there's, I imagine there's
I'm
quite a
doing
lot of
everything
housekeeping
because
required
I need,
there, as
I'm
well as a lot of
recruiting and having the right people.
Guess you've got to
But
trust
there's even in Sheffield there's a big
It's not even
market.
just trusting, even other people when starting
Yeah.
out.
What differentiates you?
Yeah, so if you think, what was it?
I tend to accommodate my
It's 230,000 households. 230,000 households in Sheffield.
How's
So 10% of that is
It's
23,000
okay
households will be
because
having a house
I
clean.
people tend to think
Sheffield.
Carrier is too hot.
Now,
So I'm trying to
probably
use
50
my
if
brand
not 60% of that will
to
be people
so
hiring friends,
I had
people they know, or word of
I don't know
mouth,
if I
local
showed you
cleaners.
before my menu.
The rest of the market is going to be
So my
split
menu was
between
like this,
local
but
firms,
I've changed
franchises,
it to
and ourselves.
have
So
different
there's
colours.
a lot of room
I'm
to grow
trying to
within
change
that,
the
not just in
brand
Sheffield.
to make it look more
so that's
fun
why
and
not.
more appealing.
Lead
Keep it
to
more
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've changed
Something
it
you can
now
do when you've got that core
to different to the
support network,
colours
I think.
and
But yeah, there's a huge room to move into Sheffield.
trying to
I
just.
think.
So you've got red, green, and
That's the
yellow.
old one.
Yeah, I've been trying
That's
to
what I'm
map out
saying.
the
So
market
that's the
where
old
it
one.
splits.
Let me try and show you the new one.
But obviously with commercial it's a lot nicer in that there's only one office manager you have to deal with. Domestic,
I think when someone said it last time.
house owners that you have certain customer points of service you have to do.
Yeah, I've done
Commercial is just one point of contact and keep them happy in your suite.
Like the people do that anymore. So this is the new branding. Yeah. Some people are saying it needs pictures, but I don't know. So I'm not going to do it just because of that. Because I've gotten some feedback. It's like 50-50. From a design point of view, a picture will ruin that.
But we're trying to offload as much as possible.
And I wanted to see it with the colours and the fonts. To say but like I don't know, it depends on the market I'm going for, but it's more mass. It's anybody who wants to eat this type of food. But the thing is to know my market. I don't know the market that well. I don't know who's really buying.
Well, there's this voucher,
I need
but I think that's obviously innovation digital.
My online strategy.
So I
Good, but it tells you that it's food.
First,
you need a picture, right?
Or some
SEO stuff. I didn't realise it was for SEO.
the form and now
Trying to understand the voucher, because I think
I like you're in halfway through.
Yeah, because
There
I
used
just have to
to
think,
be
if you can't read,
this
then
thing called innovation
you know,
vouchers.
people don't want to read, and people don't read,
and
then
it
it
stopped
should,
for a little
in
bit,
seconds,
but then
tell you what it
relaunched
is.
them,
okay.
so you can get it.
Well, it looks really nice, but I'd still like to know what's differentiating your offer compared to others,
Well,
and who are you going to go for, you know, really.
The way I present it is slightly different from what the other campaign
In fact, I was starting to quite hungry about the
website.
yeah, the way how the other people the layout and the design is different from what the regular campaign.
The website,
I thought you was talking
The
about
offering is different.
vouchers
The dishes
for
are
3D
slightly
printed.
different. It's like more fusion.
What's the website? So
I reckon you could say
SFSY.
picture of you on it.
Mm.
How much you make?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can cook this amazing food.
I'm sure you'll find it if you put in.
build the brand around you.
Yeah, like my friend said I should change the name to my name.
I think it's up to 25,000.
Like Sandy.
Percent. If they accept 100% of your cost of the
That's
project.
okay.
So if you spend £3 grand on the website,
Yeah,
you
average
get
Yorkshire
£1.5
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Developing the brand around a person,
Yeah,
I think,
Certainly the
could work.
old scheme
comfortable.
doesn't have a massive amount of take-up. There's
Okay, but you could
particularly
I think I
on
don't.
public
And why I didn't even want to do that, I don't want it to be
Yeah.
tied to news.
Yeah.
And people like, because even now, like because I'm there, before I wasn't there that much, or I was in the kitchen, and I had fun of hours, but I've changed that to try to
pay
fix
for the
everything.
project and then get
But
know that I'm getting 50% back.
When they come in and used to see just me,
Might be a apply for the voucher first.
their alliances to me are not the brand, not Kingston City, but for Sandy. They come, they come for a chat.
Next to half price.
How good is that? How good is that?
But that's
You're going to try and play the systems, haven't you?
Let's keep it within my roots.
The other,
Yeah.
I mean, his face.
Yeah.
He is his brand.
exactly. Yeah, a lot of people don't even. The brand is reggae sauce.
the university.
Well, people will just remember him.
Yeah.
I like the story of Madha Jaffrey. She was an Indian.
Yeah.
Okay.
She became very, very famous many years ago, 30 years ago,
Days a week.
in England,
Mm-hmm.
and she produced a book
I don't know how
of
much
recipes
time is
and became very famous.
working.
Madha Jaffrey for Indian food.
Mm-hmm.
She became the iconic
Approach universities and
for a while. I don't think
experience.
I've still got a book actually at home somewhere, but she did become the iconic woman behind a whole raft of these amazing dishes that were relatively new to British people at the time. You know, and I think building a business around you isn't a bad idea. But I don't think you'd be. I mean, this is a very different business to what it is now. But building, you know, that recipe book. The sets of recipes as alongside the actual, the obvious.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to do in the blogs and
Yes.
sorry, but I'm not quite.
How you would do that, I think.
Yeah, in the blogs, I want to do it through the blog.
Yes. So what we've just conceptualised is a slight not necessarily a completely different business, but it is a slightly bit different business. You're building your brand and reputation around a set of recipes that are unique.
Well, what I'm not comfortable with, like, I have a list of things to do, which that's one of them. I'm not comfortable going in front of the camera. Like, one of the best ways to get that idea across is to actually do videos. And like,
is it some
cooking these recipes.
Yeah. No. I mean, that might take quite a lot of skill as well. I mean, you've got all this production stuff.
In spring term, and they do 100 hours.
But there's not. But, I mean, I don't know of anybody in the market for Caribbean.
Mainly business
You know,
students. They'll
I don't.
have to
There's
take
no.
care of
I mean, we've got Jamie Oliver for this. That, and the other, and we've got the big business. But the voice and the
people who've taken apprentices and had leave
You don't know the regular as well.
Oh right,
obviously there's still more of this proper
but remember, you're selling. You're not just selling a service. It's selling yourself as a guru of. Well, we can say that, you know, you're the face of.
What I want to do, instead of with the 3D printing, I was going to create, well, I have no intent, create different sites that lead into different ideas. So, like, I would have that domain. I'm now I'm in the process of doing another domain because it's more online marketing and all that. So I have another one putting in different things. One I wanted to roll out soon is the food to go for freezing and stuff.
You have to
so
about exactly what you want them
to
do, and it's obviously
and you know, to find like could be the food, could do the catering.
I'm
not. I don't.
Because you do the catering side, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm not so much ready for all that until I've standardized the recipes and. You know, it's going like how I want you to go in terms of people. I need
in terms of this university, I'm not sure.
So I was thinking to start. I will still do a little bit of catering, but not go full on, but more do like I'm interested in the ready to go meals. So you can order. But only thing I need right now, because I have everything to do, is to find
from every relevant course, HR,
or children.
That shouldn't be difficult.
Really?
Yeah, it's something that you've got on the CV, I guess.
In small volumes, if you just want 5 places, Ocado maybe, I'm not sure. I think Ocado does it. But there's another brand. There's a place that I see online that does it, and I'm planning to order from it.
What about Meals on Wheels?
Yeah?
Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, they would. You think?
What I'm saying is that lots of older people who live into their own homes, and it's important.
Are you?
Yeah.
You sort of
They
come to an end.
They do like a Caribbean. They do Caribbean options already. But yeah, if they would do my distribution,
well, I mean that's that. I think we need to. I'd like to really think this through because I do think that there's lots of different directions we can go in here.
Yeah, I'm quite open. As I said, I'm quite open to see what works. And
that group of being 2, they've just come to an end. So I'm going to get the next part going. Okay, and then we'll come back to it.
We'll come back to
yours.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you.
Right. Now I'm going to just ask you to do a few. A little exercise that isn't in the book actually, isn't in the workbook. One thing I really want you to do, I mean I've just discussed things with 2 of the businesses over there. I do think we need to be radical in our thinking, you know, test and press, you know, our own perspectives, etc. But now I'm going to ask you to think about your processes now. Let's just say you've got a steady business. Most of you have got some business or other, right? In its current state, right? You'll have several processes, I suppose. I'm not sure if I can easily draw on here, but let's just see. You know, like when I was describing to you the 3D printing business, right? There was a very distinct process involved. I wonder if this goes up. Right. Okay. And what I sometimes do is encourage people to think about your business in terms of processes. Any business can be considered a set of processes. You know, you do this, 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 and all together it makes up this. And what this really means is that you're looking at this is you, right? You're sitting there, let's turn the lights on. So you're sitting here, and you're going to analyse your business as a process. There's a little bit of rigour to this, actually, and maybe I could explain it to you in this particular form. Forgive me if it is not quite. Well, you'll see how it goes. If I was going to describe the university now as a process, right? What we would probably do is something like this. We would try and define it, right? I'd draw a circle there, and I'd define it in terms of what it's doing, what its fundamental purpose is. Okay, this will get you thinking about what you are actually doing in your business. What is it transforming? This is what we would call it. What is it transforming? Right. So you have to almost define your input and you define your output. Right. Now, if I was going to say that of the university, what is the university's input and what is the university's output? What do you think?
Education and degrees.
Right. Okay.
Training and courses.
Training and courses. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Just feed that a little bit further. What's its input then?
Resources. What's that? Staff, lecturers, and professors.
Those are resources, aren't they? Yes. So yes. But what is it transforming? As an input?
Students.
Students. Right. So we've got students coming in. Right. And what's going out then?
Graduates.
Graduates. Okay. So now I'll put that little hat on. Okay. Now you've got the transformation. When you said something like lecturers, that's not what it's transforming. That's what it's using to transform. You know. So lecturers, you know, belong inside the bubble, right? In a way. Because that's a resource in order to achieve the transformation. Okay? So now this type of idea we're starting to hone in. If I was going to develop that, you know, students to graduates, then because we're sitting here, we have to define what that is, and we have to define what that is. And if we can't define it, we're in trouble, aren't we? You know, because we're running a business. We've got to know what those transformations are. I'll just expand on that a little bit, because this arrow is you making sure you're absolutely clear with what your business is transforming. Right? And of course, inside here, there's all sorts of things that might have to go on to achieve that transformation. All these other processes, activities, lectures, in the case of a university, lectures, tutorials, learning activities, all the timetabling, you know, recruitment of students, recruitment of staff, all these things have to go into the system to make the system work in that sense. So what we're starting to do is to try and get a little bit more of a handle on what it is we are actually doing. Now, when we did this for the a 3D printing business, we differentiated between two different components. One was the retail side and one was the printing side. That was the core. We ended up with two of these things, and that's fine. You know, of course they're interconnected, which we can conceptually interconnect later. Now, the other thing is that I just expand on this a touch, because I'm going to ask you to have a go in a few minutes, but I'm going to just say that actually, if you take that input part and that output part, now we can define our products and our businesses in all sorts of different ways in doing that. That's what you're really doing, you're sort of trying to get a definition on them. When you take inputs and outputs, of course, there's a sort of timeline here. I put that as a T, a little T, right? A timeline. So to achieve your input and output in your business, there's a timeline, isn't there? And time is a resource. And I mean, I'll give you a couple of examples of this, really. I mean, I went to the Vice-Chancellor's house a bit ago.
Ooh.
Yeah, I did. He invited me around, you know.
Did he?
He didn't know who I was. But I went to the Vice-Chancellor's house for dinner once. And I said to him, you know, these poor students are paying all this money now, you know, £9,000 a year. It's just, you know, what about offering them 2-year degrees? 2-year degrees, and we'll just compact it all in and get 2 years, and then we can reduce the cost, and then the students will be better. And you know what he said to me? He said no. Because, of course, that's not necessarily in the interests of the university.
Or him.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I've just read recently, well, yesterday, that he's been jet setting on. Have you seen? Like, he's like literally £50,000 last year on jet setting and hotels and flights. Sorry if he's your friend.
No, he's not my friend. No, he's a guy who earns more than the Prime Minister. He has his own car, you know, his own house. You know. So anyway, you know, but the point I'm making really is not to do with him. It's just that we have to think about the resources that we're putting into a given process, haven't we? We've got to think about who is doing what when and how it's all coordinated together. We also need to know how it's measured. And that's something we're going to get into in much more detail a bit later on. Because how do you measure the quality of that coming out? Okay? How do you know it's right? You know, it's a problem. It can be a problem. I mean, a lot of the time we measure in the university by saying how many students have we recruited, right? And how many have graduated. Things like that. So we would say, oh, we recruited 100, only 80 came out, and so that gives us some kind of performance measurement, which is 80%. Okay, and the Vice-Chancellor might say to us, oh, 80%, not good enough. You know, you're in the management school, you're running this programme, and you're only getting 80%. Let's see if we can get it to 85%. So suddenly, we've got a performance target. So 85% is the target. Yeah. We call that a performance indicator. Okay? And I want you to start thinking about your performance indicators, and we'll expand on this a lot later on. But what is the performance indicator for your given business? Now, if I was in the university and we said, okay, Vice-Chancellor, we're going to achieve 85%. Okay? Mm-hmm. If that was our performance indicator, what do you think? I mean, this you might like to explore that. What do you think that's going to do to the process? If our target is 85%, what happens? What's the result?
Kind of market.
That's very perceptive, actually. Very perceptive. A lot of people say to me when I ask that question, they say, oh, well, we'll have to just make sure that students attain better grades, you know. But a lot of the time, that's absolutely right.
What did you say? Sorry.
He said, kinda marking. You know, so we get more through, you know.
Surely it's about their experience and the quality of the courses.
That's a very rational view. And you're absolutely right. That's what we idealise. But the reality is, As soon as you've got a performance indicator that's asking to change the system, it often changes the system in the wrong way. It's changing the system. This is the system being, and this is the performance indicator of the system. That maybe changes that, but doesn't necessarily make it better. You know, I had a lovely story, actually, by the way, whilst we're on it, of the Barnsley ambulance service. The Barnsley ambulance service. Every ambulance service has an average score when they get to a given accident or whatever. And I forgot what it is now. I think it's something like 18 minutes on average. They've got to get to the scene of whatever it is. Now, it was an interesting one because that metric came out, but Barnsley had already achieved 13 minutes. And then the national government came out and said, oh no, it's got to be, you've got to get it within 18 minutes. So you got Barnsley ambulance service thinking, oh, we can easily make that, you know. Emergency, yeah, okay, we'll just have a quick fag before we get out. No. Well, that's an exaggeration, but what I'm saying is that the targets and the measures are there, ideally, to improve the system and be something that we want to achieve, what we call the performance indicators. But a lot of the time they are used quite badly in practice. And you see it all in the public sector all the time. I love the other story in the health services. You might appreciate this. But you know, like when they measure the performance, when you wait, the waiting lists. So they want to get the waiting list and the time of the waiting list down. So they measure everything. So first of all, that's at a cost, because they've got to measure it, you know. And then, of course, they want to get it down. So what do hospitals typically do? Well, they see a patient within a few minutes with a very junior nurse who doesn't actually do any of the caring, you know. So there's a sort of a workaround. And you probably see quite a lot of activities in the health services where they're collecting data for performance, but it's actually reducing the effectiveness of it.
Yeah, or another thing is, they said, oh, the patient needs to be seen within 4 hours in A&E.
Yeah.
So they get to be seen, or not in some cases, and then they breach. But they said a patient shouldn't wait more than 12 hours for a bed. But that is from the time it has been requested a bed.
Yes.
So if they know they haven't got beds in hospital, they're not requesting beds.
Yes, so they don't do the requests.
So patients, they can say, I've been waiting here 10 hours, yeah, but your bed just been requested now. So that can be another 10 hours or 12 hours to wait for a bed.
Yeah, absolutely. So absolutely. And we don't necessarily need to get into the public sector and the challenges of the public sector here, but measurement is problematic when you talk about human organisations.
Something that's probably a bit more important for me rather than this 85% is, yeah, okay, it's well and good 80% are coming out of university, but then what are they actually doing? Are they using their degree? Are they getting a successful job or?
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no point going through the system and then not using it, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So what's the point of the system? You know, what's its purpose and who is it serving? And actually,
so as I, as the Chancellor, would like to see in 5 years' time, what are these students that have graduated doing?
Yes, absolutely.
To rate my performance.
Yes, yes.
Just that immediate output.
Absolutely. And the performance metrics can be quite broad and varied. And we'll see this in one of the modules. We're going to get into what we call an information dashboard for your business. This is the start of that in a way. We have to have effective performance measurements, effectively applied, but they're not necessarily just going to look at the narrow effectiveness of the process, but they have to be applied to understand how they serve stakeholders in context, you know, and having an effective performance measurement system is one thing that we're going to have to do for all our businesses. So, I mean, going back to the 3D printing business, when we were here, just as you are now, 3.5 years ago, what we did was we mapped out what we thought were the 2 key processes. We didn't know there were 2. The retail side and then the printing side, okay? And we mapped out and we started to think about what we're transforming, who we're serving by each one, right? And, of course, what are the key metrics that we're going to judge them by. And I wondered if you could do that for your businesses. Just have a go.
Yeah.
10 minutes. You can do this individually, I think.
Yeah.
Just 10 minutes and just tell me what you think your transformations are. In 10 minutes' time, I'll go around the group and see if we find them.
Yeah. Mapped out domestic customer process and the commercial customer process.
Okay, so you've got two. So like us, you've got two.
Yeah. So there's a slight difference in approach. I've started at request quote. Obviously, that's the
okay.
Hard, that's the hard part because you win the business online or over the phone.
Okay, so that's online that bit.
So we get our customers through Google because our SEO is quite good. For domestic, commercial, that's a lot harder SEO. There's some big national players, so that's more telemarketing at this stage and word of mouth. But for a domestic customer, we can quote them instantly online. We've got a price calculator. If it's an elderly customer or they prefer to deal on the phone, we've got a call team that answers that phone.
I assume that technology that you've got in there and the SEO is a bit of a differentiator, is it?
Yeah, so the fact that we actually give you an instant price saves the callback that a lot of other firms have to do. You leave your details and they'll get back to you with a quote. Actually, no, they want to see your house before they give you a quote, whereas we say, based on what size your square foot your house is, this is how much it would cost you. So within 60 seconds you know how much your house clean would cost with us. So you can make a decision then to either go and book or leave. So if they're happy with the quote on the phone or online, they can then either book online within 60 seconds or book on the phone with the call team. Once we've got that booking, that's where I come in and that's where I find our available cleaner. So I schedule the cleaner, assign the checklist so that we promise at the quote stage what we'll be delivering with a checklist, and then the clean goes ahead.
How do you quality control that then?
So we have a review email to get sent out after each clean. So
I see. That's coming from the client.
We send the email out to the client, and it's got a green face for happy, yellow face for neutral, red face for unhappy. And then depending on what face they send, they get another email then saying please can you add comments to your review. If it's a green face, a lot of people won't have comments. If it's a neutral face, I'm sure they'll let me know what it was. So that's the follow-up, see how happy they are, and then if necessary there'll be a follow-up call, and then repeat customers just start that journey into a scheduling cleaner. If it's the same cleaner, it's just the repeat journey is smaller actually.
Can I just ask you a couple of questions? One is, what really differentiates your business compared to others in the market? Because I would have thought it's quite a competitive environment. You mean?
Yeah. So it's well, you can't really book online in Sheffield, South Yorkshire area.
It's a bit like Uber.
Yeah. So with Uber is the cleaning industry, and you get a lot of franchises, and you've got to call up, they've got to come see your house. It's quite a slow process. They've got quite bad reviews. The other way of finding a cleaner is finding a self-employed cleaner or some through word of mouth. So there's a lot of different segments to the industry, but I think there is now a market for people who want to book online quickly on their phone or online, 60 seconds. So it's the ease of booking, and then it's the quality of service that we provide to keep them on.
And how quick is it to get somebody in?
So we said 24 hours is our shortest window. However, if they call up, so we've done some on the day, we've done some within 2 hours if we have a cleaner in the area that's available.
Okay.
But online we say, well, when you look at what dates are available, the soonest will be 24 hours in advance. And I've just got to keep, so a bit like you mentioned the ERP system, I've got to keep on top of our booking slots, make sure it doesn't say we're fully open for business. I've got to make sure the slots are constantly updated to what we actually have.
That's a capacity issue, isn't it? The back end. Yeah.
So some weeks it will look like we don't have much availability if that's we're having a particularly busy week, and that's the point where I'm like, oh, we need to get a cleaner on, and then I can increase availability again. So that's the domestic side. Commercial is a bit more traditional, so I do actually do site visits because that's part of the sales process as well, getting to know the director or the office manager, and then you email them a quote, and you have to get the agreement signed, then you schedule or recruit a cleaner depending on the size of the contract, and then that thing just continues.
But that's really neat. You've got that nailed down, haven't you? Really.
That's the journey. But as I was saying, you've got my head thinking about retail.
Yeah.
The people I buy cleaning products off aren't great. So could I potentially start having a cleaning supplies side? I don't know how much a unit costs or garage, but could I sell to my potential competitors and because then I can sell around the country with retail if my price point is okay.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of thing where you need to get line sheets off all the surface cleaners, toilet cleaning companies. Just reach out to them, see what price you can get.
That's interesting.
And if there's a market within that, because that would also make it cheaper for me to stock my staff with those suppliers.
That's sort of our thinking with 3D printing business. If we convert our competitors to our customers, basically that was basically what we were saying. That can give us a bit of an advantage. But then again,
do you white label the products that you supply, or are they resold like
there's two different avenues we do. Now we've got our own precision maker brand. Excuse me, I'm just coughing away. And get a bit of drink water. Yeah, we can do that, but it goes under our own brand. I'm just going to get
A bit harder for you to process.
Well, sorry, what's your name? Harry?
Hugo.
I've done it quite differently to yours. Like I've done it like that, just bullet points and a few pictures.
Okay, so do you want
to? I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay, so I suppose in terms of inputting, taking in consideration for my business, I'm putting in time, resources, writing books, ideas, producing the different formats or planning in terms of for speaking or workshops and things, with a lot of organisation, and then the transformation is the different elements as listed there.
So these outputs?
They're the outputs, the performance indicators. At the end, I suppose, like happy people, like that are positive about disability and
just going back to that point
that sort of thing.
We'd have to think this through because
reviews that I'm getting.
In our case, we import. When you're importing this, obviously, we buying in bulk, and of course, there's a lead time as well. If we're bringing things by sea, it can be 3 months. So you're holding a lot of money.
Does that make sense?
Do you put the lead time on the website, so could you make a sale and then ship to them in 3 months?
That's a very good point as well, because that's what we intended to do, but it never worked. Because I think people who wanted the stuff too quickly. But the idea was always that we wouldn't hold much stock. So now you probably could do that for certain types of goods.
Does this make sense? Because it kind of like.
So we've got to hold stock, and that's where we had to invest
just said,
quite heavily in stock.
And it makes you sound as if you don't know what you're on about.
That funding, so we're struggling to just build the stock.
What it was now. But so I need to stop saying that.
No, we have a unit. What happened was when we first started the business, we got this really cheap unit up in that
speaking thing, which was a week ago.
And we thought, oh, it's massive.
People were really,
and now we've grown
really
out
great
to it.
feedback. It was
We actually, and it's not a store,
honest,
it's not a warehouse.
it was an
so
honest
now we've just got this new place,
speech and
which is much more
inspiring and like people were.
Because we've got so much.
I wasn't just me. I wasn't like. I can't pretend.
I do think that's quite a nice idea.
Or like, what's.
But you'd have to really find a way to make
that's
what are currently drivers in the market buy from you. But an interesting idea.
Like,
but I appreciate all of
that. But that, I think I'm sometimes a bit too open.
So you can try and map out what the process would be for retail.
Yeah, and which products would they buy from you?
I do. I see.
I sometimes turn that going up the supply chain, you're sort of going up one level. If you're distributing to a lot of companies like you know their business, and of course, it's quite a natural step.
It's not in a file or anything altogether, which I think I need to do.
Supply to the industry.
I have been told to put it on Facebook and things, but I feel a bit like cool.
Oh, are you? So, what's the frozen bottom? Yeah. I go there a lot. Jim
Most like within a minute, I was like,
oh, so they've given you that office space. Okay,
so I feel a bit like, I don't want to sound big myself up too much time after,
because I'm based in Crooks, and see how we go. But it's probably quite reasonable office space.
The problem that I would imagine you would have here with the retail side, if you were, is what the markup would be.
Yeah.
Because
how much you can get.
Yeah.
The shipping.
Yeah. All the shipping side is expensive. What we did was we had a model, ended up with a model which actually detailed everything, shipping costs, but also even packaging costs, and when we started so we knew what the profitability would be on each line. that took us quite a long time to bottom out, actually. And then we employed a young neat, not employed, he was about 18, I think, when we first employed him. And he'd been on the dole for about 2 years, he had never had a job. And, so we were really pleased to be able to give him, the self-respect
or what you actually
but it's
doing it for.
He's still there, and I think he's thrived to some extent.
I'm trying to help the audience. Obviously, I don't.
One of our challenges is
I've
what
got this business structure
saying. He doesn't tend to want to take things on, so we're sort of in a dilemma there. More, just because we want him to develop and grow himself. But it's not easy to do that. He's doing what he does really, really well. And it's fine, and we could keep him there, and it's absolutely great for business. But I feel, for his sake, he needs to expand. Well, we did the same. We did the same because we called it training operations manager. With the idea that he would grow into different parts of the business. We found that very difficult. One of my problems is I don't work in the business every day. I've got 2 engineers overseeing it. The engineers are not necessarily the best managers. So sometimes I think that they don't treat him how I would want to treat him. You know what I mean? It's just communication, just human stuff. So I get frustrated with them getting frustrated with him. Exactly. But because I've got my day job at the university, I can't. Anyway, that's really great. We'll start thinking about that.
There's that which is a retail game supply store. Very expensive.
This is what I mean, like,
go online, you can beat the prices by so I'll guess it.
So would you say that
there's those 2 places that I think
is
best for
patient. And then they feel it's easy when I ask Ash to feel if this is a job
and then I'm going to it's just how much stock will I have to buy.
I would have thought cleaning products would be quite heavy to ship.
So you came.
If you're only sending
all the volunteers that I go and assist them on the 3 walls, imaginary workshop, join, or like I go one-to-one with a new volunteer,
saying
doing something in the workshop and then
Well, you can subject it all to analysis before you decide. And that was that's in many ways what I was going to do next. I was going to get people to start thinking about what business they should be in the future. That's the different set of processes. You know, compare the current with the future. Can we get to that future state? Is that feasible?
So this is like really good.
It's a very interesting analogy to doing business, actually. I mean, we had the retail side, that was purposely done in order to position ourselves to help the rest. You know. And I think it works. It's just getting that up and running, in our case particularly, it's taken at least 2 years, I would say.
Always trying to be...
The challenge for us is holding the stock. You know.
But I think we might have, that's what it's going to make it harder because I do have psychology.
So they, you know, bring you.
Can I interrupt just a couple of minutes? You've hopefully defined your processes now, right? Hang on.
No, we talked about feedback.
Yeah. But
measuring.
Yeah, that's fine. But surely we should also be discussing what we think our processes should be in the future. Is that the same as you've just drawn, or is it different? So could I just ask you just to have a few minutes thinking about what you think the processes should be in the future? Is it the same or not?
What, for our bigger strategy?
Yes, and that's what we're aiming for.
Sorry, what's the processes? I'm lost.
So, for example, can I use your example?
Yeah.
Right. Over here, we've got 2 processes. The company is a cleaning company, right? And it does contract cleaning for private individuals, you know, that could be used. Or it's contract work for companies. Okay? Now, there's a slightly different process involved because the clients are different. You know, there's not huge amounts of change, but there are distinct differences between. So he's got 2 processes, okay, 2 core processes that he can subject to analysis, subject to understand how the metrics work and the quality controls work, and subject it to what stages and steps and who's involved. Yeah, and he's got 2 processes at this point in time. But we've just discussed the possibility of, in the future, there might be a 3rd process. We're going to keep, or this is the discussion so far. We're going to keep the 2 existing processes, but add a 3rd one in order to basically, because our strategy might be, if it works, and I'm not saying it will, but our strategy might be to convert our rivals in the market to customers, right? Which is really our strategy, and what we would need to do that is to supply to the rivals in our market, other cleaning companies. We could do that at the retail side, or we might be able to find other ways to do that, you know.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, I can...
You can see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to think about what the future would hold, not what the current is doing at this moment in time. Okay. So could I just give you a few minutes to think about that one?
Nice, yeah. It's looking for that. It's fine.
So, in terms of what I've done so far.
So the books.
Yeah.
So what's the process?
So we did a bit of a diagram to mimic what you were saying there. And I suppose that's a list of input that I'm putting for my business. And they're the different elements of the
Okay. Can I just ask you, just to tell me, what is it you're transforming? What from what to that? What is that?
Good question.
Yes.
I think that's what I'm missing. So it's ideologies, it's more perceptions than
and even though you might not physically,
you're writing books, aren't you?
So we can.
So you've got a book writing process. But the writing is serving something else. What is it? Is it education?
Yeah.
Ah, if it's education, you're transforming people, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right. So your goal is to transform. Who are your target audience for your book? Small children, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's education. The goal, the transformation, is the educative process in which a subsystem would be the writing of the books, but you're also having to sell the books, deliver the books in different forms and media. I think, did you say different types of media? Yeah.
I've not written it down because like I've been speaking at events and workshops and things. So
okay, that's your distribution channel, isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, isn't it? Your
it sounds really exciting.
the media, the books, is the physical book, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that physical book necessarily physical, or could it be on technology?
Yeah, I've got an ebook for it.
Oh right, okay. So apologies. I didn't know that ebook. Yeah, okay. So you've got an ebook.
Colourful, definitely.
And so there's an electronic opportunity there.
Oh,
right. So your distribution. Yes, of course you've got discussion, speaking activities, etc. But your distribution could also be online. Have you done that much online?
No.
Okay, that's interesting, because that might be a change to your potential.
How would it work?
I have a lot of
See,
like
idea
customer
of
base online.
boxes.
Like our
What
Facebook
would
page is
business
like
process?
quite a lot, nearly 19,000.
Good grief, that's a lot.
Yeah, so there's a good like
Yeah.
community and stuff.
So where do we
But I need
start
to
there?
upsee online.
Well, I'm just thinking it is an opportunity, because as soon as you go online, you've got a multi-billion potential audience.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that anybody will hit your websites and things like this, but that's the potential it can give. And if you, for example, produce something that goes viral,
Yeah.
it gives you great opportunities. You know,
Absolutely.
now I'm not saying that that's easy at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But you do, because it is in e-form, you do have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And our strategy might be, and I'm not saying it is, but it might be to develop that online presence in order to exploit the opportunities that are there.
Yeah.
You know, because it could be massive, really.
This model,
Whether or not we could make that work or not, but it also, I suppose, going back to the innovation voucher, it is that kind of thing. If we thought that would work or could work, we would have to put much more clarity on how. It's almost like an engineering problem. You've got to understand exactly how you are going to tackle it, make it work, and then put effort into making it work. But I do think that the electronic offer does provide great opportunities.
I mean, what I've done so far, my first ebook I gave away for free.
So it's not the same.
So that was online. That was, I suppose, for the purpose of me getting email addresses from people.
They can be
so almost like a transaction.
Very free.
But people that I've told have been, no, don't do that anymore. Don't give it away for free, even if it's on, and just sell it even for like £1 or something. Whether it's like on Amazon or whatever, sell it rather than give it away for free, because then you're undermining
that changes your process, because it's not just producing a box.
But going back to the online thing, I've done a few webinars online, which has been fantastic, and we've had such a great audience. Like there's been people from
So there's some kind of
Saudi
consultation
Arabia,
first.
Australia, Canada, as well as Europe. And it's been really good.
So you have
There was me on one end, and then the other speaker was
so you say you have like 5 different boxes.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
If not boxes,
that's an interesting conversation that we've just had, and I'm going to try and.
items.
And again, the webinar was free.
Customize the
Like
box.
if I
So based on the questionnaire,
charge for it, maybe
you know
that'd
what's
be a
suitable
good
because
thing.
you might have a more.
Another set of questions
The
I've
more
got
is suitable for
centre
people
around
that
whether or not
yeah. So when
there are opportunities to use different forms of media,
boxes,
because
it will show
there's
the
different ways
items
that people engage in stuff.
for what
You know.
condition.
Now your objective is
And
education.
then
We've just stated
the
that.
price, or you could have a box. So
And
okay, you can have this box which has this. That,
Sometimes
yeah,
when people are interested in
it will
education,
automatically recommend
Make your own.
Yeah, you can either make your own.
Of course, you've got your books.
separately, or
But
you
if,
can have a box
for example, a child
to
could
say, okay,
interact
starter
with
pack.
Yeah.
it, that might be more interesting to the modern day
Because
child.
otherwise, just to customize
In
it,
some
just
way,
really time
Yeah.
maybe
consuming.
they could write a
So you
story
make it easier so you have that Western that already.
that relates to the original story.
So then that then
Well, I
you
don't
will
know.
benefit from
Just,
that.
you just sort of, I'm just thinking aloud, if they had different forms of interaction,
I think you need
Then
to think about
your
the
educational
process more,
objectives
what's involved,
Mm.
and
could be met
how
in
do you
different
make this
ways.
sustainable.
Yeah.
couldn't they?
Yeah.
Because you
Um,
don't want a kind
And I
of
think I realised 50 boxes, you know,
and you never see
the
them again.
Yeah.
more I
Mm.
delve into it, that
Yeah, because
there
and
needs to
then
be
with that
more
way,
than books.
it's
Well,
automated. and you can
I'm just picking up on the
like
electronic
research and
form of it
adding
because I just think
something.
that is actually quite an interesting.
Powerful.
Yeah, it could be very, very powerful for you.
Mm.
I mean, what if we explore before
So it
next
could be
time
quite fun, like
a
make
number
the
of
process
different
quite fun.
opportunities around
Obviously
different
recommend,
types of
you know,
media and
like
interaction with
interactive.
young.
The
What
experience
age group are you
could be
in?
very interactive. Yeah.
Well, the books that I've written so far are sort of...
So it doesn't look like, you know,
Okay,
Yeah.
well, 6 to 9.
What I was saying,
very visual, very, you know, colourful.
adults have read it. I've
Yeah,
read like
yeah.
20-something-year-olds, 30-something-year-olds, like
like
adults.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're not just saying, giving you
Yeah.
feedback.
But the other, I mean, I'll come back to the books and the content of the books in a second, but let's just go back to the media side.
Yes.
But 6 to 9 year old children, in my experience, are usually quite tech savvy nowadays.
Yeah.
They're not
And you can get your
tech,
feedback there.
but they know how to use your apps and computers and things like this. So that is not closed off by this. Going back to your stories as well, I mean, obviously you're appealing to youngish children.
And people can say,
But
oh,
sometimes-
this.
I don't know if this is
You
the
can sell it
nature of
online.
things. Sometimes those stories can appeal to adults as well.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, because of the way they're written. So and that's why I'm asking really, because your target audience might be
Yeah, you could-
primarily
yeah, that
the
way you could
education of
commercialise
young
it.
children,
Yeah.
but your target
And
audience is
standardise it.
also
Yeah.
the adults who will perhaps read to the children. You know, it's a little bit like what example would I give? The thing that springs to mind is Harry Potter or something, because a lot of adults really like that, but it was really oriented towards kids of about 12, I think, really, originally. Or I used to love it when some of those really interesting stories that you get had an inner meaning, you know, and children would see the surface level, but the adult would see the inner meaning, you know, of it, social comment. The obvious one is the story of that king who had no clothes. The king, remember that one?
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean that is determining your audience, isn't it? So you've got to somehow appeal to the audience, and through your sales channels, try and get to that audience. You know. Now, if that's electronic, we've got to get the branding right, etc. Now, I'd like to also explore the possibility of, it's a big ask in some ways, is to explore the possibilities of new forms of media interaction to go alongside your if it's electronic. I'm not sure how that might appear, but I'll put you in touch with somebody who will give you a free demo of their software. Has potential. I'm not even sure if it's appropriate even to suggest it. I'm stabbing around in the dark.
Shipping,
something like
we're not going to do all that.
And what happens is that
how does that change?
I would imagine that this is how it would work. You put your book into the Darwin Matrix, and then children would maybe read it, maybe interact with it a bit, maybe their parents interact, and then they could create their own story from it. And then there's a connection there between the original story and their own interpretation. And that's a highly educational interaction, potentially, if it was done right. I'm not saying that that's the way to do it. It might be worth exploring. So you're not necessarily just a writer. You are creating more of a journey to achieve this. Your educational objectives. Using new media. I've just redefined the business. But I'm not saying it's the direction to go. I am saying that's the radical thinking that we need to put into place well, we owe it to ourselves and I think potentially our long-term clients to have a real
and that's your unique selling point.
What I always say, I love the idea of educational books. There might be sometimes an argument to say you're in a very competitive market there with lots and lots of people.
So that's the problem in terms of you getting
lots and lots of to a given user of your books, the child. There's a zillion to choose from. So we've got to differentiate you from the others. And my gut feel is that the technology might be
university anyway about designing
with an option.
They have a commercial to do that. And he told me about it.
Just imagine a situation where
for him
you
it
use
is
the Darwin
interesting because I have
Matrix
to then use him.
and then you've got your book, you've still got your ideology, the reason why you went into it. But then it goes viral. You've got thousands of people just hitting your website.
Excellent. I think this is what I'm missing, to be honest. Just because lack of knowledge of
I spent the £5,000 with them.
we all get into our little silos, don't we? As human beings, we sort of work in certain silos. But I do think that if we think it through carefully, and by next week, hopefully, next month, whatever it is, we might have had some radical thinking and maybe starting towards making decisions about where this could go. I think, I'm not saying that this would be the case, but with that kind of, the innovation voucher thing, you never know, it might be get funding there to help it happen.
Yeah, so I guess it's all interlinked.
But in terms of performance indicators for the Darwin, is it
Darwin Matrix, of course.
What would be performance indicators for that? Because
well,
if they go off and do that in their own time and space, how would I
get benefits?
How would I know that they're doing it for a start?
Well, I dare say there are ways to, because it's an interesting one. He's been using it. You'd have to look at it. You'd have to look at that question. I mean, obviously we are aiming for educational goals. If that's how we're defining it. If those are educational goals, then of course we would have to look at how effective we are being at doing that. We could measure it in terms of the number of hits onto the website, but that doesn't really measure the educational part. So we would have to maybe look at other ways to measure and judge whether or not it's a success. But even if it was just people's hits, they're not hitting a book, they're hitting an experience or a website or something that's given on the apps, etc. And if you're expanding your market as a result of that, at least indicative of something. Something interesting. So now, what we've got is a process.
Oh, you still have to pay they paid 50%?
As is.
No, I paid them
And the
first,
potential
but then
process
I knew I had the voucher
as
money
might
coming.
be.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
they had to sign
If you know
off
what I mean,
saying
we're looking
yeah.
to the future now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not
So I
looking
got
at what
the
is,
$5
we're
money.
looking at what
Oh,
might be.
so you
And
haven't got
we're
all the money
exploring
back.
the feasibility and the desirability of a design in the future state.
Yeah.
I hope there's
That's
happen,
what we're
because they
gonna
might
do.
not, because sometimes
Yeah,
some
They
projects,
do, yeah.
I'll
But then
repeat
it's
it.
just,
okay.
Thank you.
This just to be launched.
Yeah.
So how did your future state process discussions go?
I find it quite tricky actually.
It is tricky, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I just had a really good discussion about the books, and we've decided that the potential process that we might want to apply is around e-books. I mean, that was a good discussion. I think we had to I've just been around this group so far, but I think that what we're doing now is envisaging the current, or your view of your current business, and then also trying to think carefully about what your business could be in the future. And I'm really keen to get that kind of thinking going, because as far as I can see, we probably owe it to our potential clients, and to ourselves, I think, to think that through. So when you start talking about what could be, that's always in the future, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't apply very clear reasoning to know that it will work. So what we're really trying to do is simultaneously, I'm asking you to define it as a process, but really what I'm actually asking you to do is engineer it so that we know that it will work, to reduce any risk. We've got to engineer what our product process structure actually is. If we're going to go into e-books, or if you're going to go into the retail, we've got to engineer that process, so that we know who does what when to achieve it. Just because it's in the future doesn't mean it can't be engineered. So that's what we're doing, really. So you said you had some difficulty.
I think it's the word process that bothers me. I'm quite a process-driven person. Like a start and a finish, and I'm quite structured in that way.
Okay, step one, step two, step
Yeah. But I guess because the future is unknown, and I don't know how building an app works at all, so mine were quite kind of probably top level. I probably know I need some infrastructure, lots of research and development.
Absolutely. That's the kind of thing we need to get into place. Now, let me just explain to you another business that I've been involved in. And again, this came out of the Catalyst. It was the crowd build it one. Remember the crowdfunding business? There's two bits to the crowdfunding business. Right? What we're doing is building houses. Right? But because the reason why Britain is short of houses is not because we're short of builders. It's because they can't raise the finance. So we created what we call a crowdfunding model. Okay. So we have two basic processes. One's the house construction, which is pretty stable, pretty easy. Everybody's been building houses for thousands of years. And then we've got the new form of financial structure to get the money in. Right? That's what we latched onto this idea of crowdfunding. Okay, so this was the last Catalyst that we ran about 18 months ago or something like this. So this house construction company came to us, and they wanted to grow the business, and they didn't know how to. We put this crowdfunding idea into their minds. Now, just like you, what's involved in crowdfunding? Don't know. Well, we'll have to find out then. And what's the legal structure behind it? Oh, there's some regulation called Financial Conduct Authority regulation about this. How do we know that we conform? We don't know. We have to find out. And I call that a form of experimentation. We're constantly going to what our future state system, structure, process, or whatever you call it, is, and find out how you could actually make that work. You're looking at the feasibility of what that would mean. But the problem here, and I think we all recognise the problem because we're human, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what you need to find out. That's the problem. You know, as soon as you start talking about future states, in that sense, you just don't know what you don't know. So you've got to search for and be very conscious of your lack of knowledge, actually, in a way, so that we can start piecing it together. Now, I found myself, with the crowded building concept, I find myself going into meetings and say, oh yeah, we're building the crowdfunding, and a lawyer would say to me, well, have you considered FSMA regulation? And I said, well, what the fuck's that? you know, what are you talking about? I've never heard of it. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I've got to say, I've got to rely on people to help me through that, you know. And I'm building the resource and pulling people in to know or become more aware of what I don't know, you know. Now, there's specialist knowledge in all of that. Sometimes there are issues, and I can't always quite get all that information together. We were lucky in the sense that we went to the Sheffield City Council and said, we think this is a good idea, you know, and we sold it to them, you know. So they gave us a little bit, tiny bit of funding, right, but it was nowhere near enough. Not even just to pay the lawyers' fees, you know. So, but nonetheless, that I think is our challenge. We've got to know what we don't know, or we've got to at least subject to a critical analysis ourselves in our lack of knowledge about the design of the future state. And that, unfortunately, I don't know of an easy way forward on it, you know, because we're all limited human beings. If we were God, we could create our businesses straight away, you know. But because we're only human, we've got to make that inquiry, which I call experimentalism. You're experimenting with the possibilities of a new process or structure in your business in the future, but you don't quite know what it is yet, you know. Over a period of time, and it's taken us in the crowdfunding thing about 18 months. We were designing the process, getting more and more detail into it, and finding that we didn't know certain things, and finding a bit more, etc., etc. And on the 23rd of July 2016, we sent what our proposals were to what was called Queen's Council. Okay, this is the highest authority in the land to say, are we conforming to all the regulation? And it came back clean. They said, yeah. So that maybe they don't know. But nonetheless, that is the journey that we're on. When we're creating something new, unfortunately, there's nobody you can copy from. You know, on the house construction side, well, that's not too difficult because everybody's been building houses for ages, and I can go to a builder and say, listen, you know, and he'll say, oh, no, I do it like this and I do it like that, you know. So that's not a problem because I can rely. I know what I don't know personally, but I know who I can find things out from. But when you're creating something absolutely brand new, like crowdfunding using this equity-based form that we were looking at, that is really difficult, you know. But it is the way it is, I'm afraid. You know. So what I would like us to do is to start designing that, whatever that is, in each case. And it'll shift as well, you know. Today, on the 20th of February 2017, it'll look like this, but you know, you might wake up in the morning and no, it won't work. This is scupper that. Well, it's too difficult or big. I'll have to shift it, but the it will change. But that is the way it is, you know. But we've got to design it still. Okay. Right. What time is it now? 12. Okay. So let's go through one further model, right? We'll do this over lunch roughly. Okay. I'm just going to switch this computer on and stuff because it's all gone off again. Right. Come on. You know, I personally think that business is fascinating. You know, when you get starting to look at things like this, every business has a great potential. It's almost like finding it and finding something that's, I call it feasible and desirable. We're always looking for what is feasible in our given context with our given resources, and what's actually desirable to serve the people we're serving, your clients who want clean homes, your children who want to be educated, you know, your children with teething problems, you know, whatever, you know, we're serving somebody always. We're searching for something that will actually enhance our capabilities in that regard. But business is not, to me, I've never seen it as just cutthroat. It's actually highly altruistic at one level. You know, we're trying to find things to serve people. Okay.
John?
Go on.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
4 minutes into care, like for this, I love your enthusiasm and your passion.
Thank you.
Honestly, don't you guys? He's a really good teacher.
No, that's very nice of you to say.
Honestly,
I'll bottle it for tonight. Let's go to another model. Now, this is in your workbooks.
Have you got them in our books?
Have you got your workbook? Second one.
there's workbook there.
Have you got yours?
Everyone got one.
Have you got another one?
Everybody's got one, yeah? Just going through the... so, the workbook, if you look at it, we're asking you to review, basically. We'd like you to keep working towards that. But now I'm going to move to page 9, okay? I personally think we've got to get some really good thinking here, right? I'm introducing this little framework. This is all it is. There's nothing complicated at all about this, and I'm just going to explain it. It's come from quite a well-known. It's quite a well-known model. It's come from somebody called Grant, okay, some years ago, and he was doing very much the same exercise as you are now, okay, searching for new business opportunities. His context was with slightly bigger businesses, but I think the same rules apply here, right? And we're involved in that central bit, that strategy bit. That's what we're trying to formulate, a strategy for our business that will work, because ultimately we want to take out anything that we feel is we're unsure about. That's basically common sense. We're reducing risk. We don't want to be floundering around forever on something that won't work. What we've got to do is try to formulate a strategy that will work. Now, that is a journey in its own right. It's not going to be something that we can do in an afternoon. With the Crowd It, Build It exercise, literally, it started formulating, we started believing in it a little bit more over quite some months, maybe 3 months, that formulation of the strategy. And even then it wasn't really right. And to be perfectly honest, I never thought it would work early on. I thought crowdfunding for house construction seems a bit wild, you know. Even crowdfunding, the concept was quite alien to me. Even when we got it through Queen's Council, even then, 23rd of July, I was thinking, nah, it can't work. This. I mean, I know that now we've conformed to the legal side, but you know, can it work? Can it work? Can it work? Then we put it to the market. We started selling, basically, to the crowd, and you know, we got a lot of interest. You know, and then I started, bloody hell, I think it might. You know, it just might work. This, you know. On the 1st of October, or 31st of October, I think it was, we drew down the first cash from the investors. We put £500,000 into the bank. ready for the first build. Then I thought, geez, this will work, you know. So I suppose it's almost like your own personal journey, and I could never pretend that I have a strategy here. It's not definitive. I always think of a strategy as just a journey, but we're trying to put things into place which we reduce the risk around by carefully thinking it through. Now, in that strategy, there are 2 or 3 things according to this model, right? Now you can see them here. You've got competitive advantage, industry key success factors, and then organisational capabilities. Okay. Just as a starting point, where do you think we should try and start doing our thinking? If you took those 3 areas: competitive advantage, organisational capabilities, and industrial key success factors. What is it? Where do you think we should start?
Competitive advantage?
I think that's yeah, possibly. You know. Any other points, or questions, or ideas? Where would we start?
Can we do it?
Go on.
Well, organisational
Capabilities.
capabilities.
That's interesting. Well, I asked the question because I wasn't sure, because my perception of it is, what is the key success factors? What is it that I'm going to do which is going to give what is it that, I mean, in your industry there are some very key industry success factors, you know, which concerns the quality of what you do, because you will not keep your client base unless they're happy. If you can get that part right, whatever you do, wherever you go, and whoever you serve, you've got to serve that and make sure that is correct. I'm only guessing now because I don't know your industry. In your case, my guess is, I mean, you're in education, really, in effect.
Yeah.
I would have thought your key industry success factors are going to be around the educative sort of like, but it's not in the minds of the child per se. It's in the minds of the parent.
Yeah.
If the parent can see their child developing, they'll buy plenty of bloody books.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll get online and recommend that. You know, they love it. So it's that kind of thinking, that industry success factors. Now, competitive advantage, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's not necessarily one starting point, but the competitive advantage is your differential in your market. We had it when we discussed your key differential was that, I think it was the timing. You could turn it around in 24 hours, right? Maybe, you know, something. I had half a bottle of wine last night, you know, and I thought, I'll just go and move rooms, you know. I spilt it on the bloody floor. Now if you could, you know, my wife was out, and I thought, oh my God. Now if you could turn around in 10 minutes, I'd have you in, you know. No, that's just a joke, really. But I suppose what I'm saying is, we've got to think out in whatever our future state is. You know, we've just started to try and define that. If it's crowdfunding, or if it's a 3D printing, or if it's clean, or whatever. What is it that differentiates us, and what's going to give us that competitive advantage? Now, in the 3D printing business, we thought, and I think it's slowly being proven to be reasonable assumption, is that if we get into the retail side, that will help us. Bring us up the supply chain, and people like Fripp will be buying our product, and we can actually have a competitive advantage over anybody, because we're not competing directly with them. They're now, you know, it's that kind of idea. So we're trying to work out the key industry success factors, and then trying to work out what our key competitive advantage is about what we're going to be proposing. This is the future state. We can look at our current business using the same idea, and then we look at our future state business using the same idea. Right? Later, and in a short while, we'll look at the resources required, because the resources will always constrain us. That will always stop us doing stuff. So that box down there is like saying, what would we need to have in place to achieve this? Now, when you're starting a new business, you're strapped for cash. You know, we all are. You know, you don't have infinite resources. You don't have sufficient knowledge and human skills often. You often are limited with the technology that you can use, and etc. So what this Grant did was he sliced open this resources thing, and he just basically said there are tangible, intangible and human stuff that is going to constrain us. That's it. There's nothing more complicated than that. But a little bit later we'll also look at constraints and see where those constraints can be slightly lifted or changed, if you like, by a different type of relationship with key stakeholders and partners. In a small business, a tiny business, or a startup business, there are things that we can do. Right? That might help us.
SWOT?
Sorry?
This is like a SWOT.
Yeah, I guess you could say so. Yeah, it's not that million miles away. I only think of this type of framework really as simply a thought structuring device. That's all it is. There's nothing complicated about it at all. But actually, when you're thinking about your industry success factors and then your competitive advantage, and what is it that you need to do to get there, that's actually quite a difficult thing to do. You know, the model is easy. The doing the thinking in practice is hard. So what I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, you can use the workbook and scribble down on the workbook, if you want, is I'd like you to try and define now what your industry key success factors are and what your competitive advantage is, and you can apply that to your current business as you see it, or maybe both. You could do it to what you think your business needs to be. Okay. Now that will take some thinking. Believe me, it's not going to be something that you're going to just do in 10 minutes. You'll be probably doing this as you go home tonight, tomorrow, next month possibly. You know, what is the key success factors, and what is your key competitive advantage over your rivals in the market? Okay. You could have a go at that. You might want to write them down and then cross-fertilise, and so we can actually sort of challenge each other on that. Make sense?
Can I ask a quick question, John? Under intangible, it has technology. Is that? I don't understand how that would be intangible.
Yeah, well, I mean that's his categorisation, of course. It doesn't really matter. I suppose what we say, okay, these are resource constraints that are put on us. You know.
So it's not that you lack a certain, like the tangible things are something more physical that you lack, like it might be a space to produce, whereas something intangible is more nebulous.
The one other thing about technology, and I'm a great believer in technology, as you can see, crowdfunding is technology enabled, the 3D printer business is technology. But I also, whilst we're on technology, I also think it's much more available than it ever has been before, and it's cheap. You know, technology doesn't need to be expensive if you know where to look. You know, getting stuff up and running is not necessarily terribly difficult either. When I was earlier in my career, I would say technology was a nightmare. You know, it was really, you know, especially like information technologies, you know, implementing a new computer system could take months and months. Now it can be done almost overnight, you know. Getting it to work properly for the business is a different question. But anyway, let's have a real good think of the industry key success factors now for your current business, and maybe the business, if you're clear on it, or clearer, so you've got some ideas on the future business, and then the competitive advantage. What is it that differentiates yourself from your competitors? Okay. We're going to finish at what time for lunch? Half past, okay. So give you 10 minutes thinking about it, quick lunch, and then we'll continue. Just before the break, I'm just trying to get my damn computer to talk to that thing. Just before the break, we were discussing this competitive advantage thing, and then also the issue of the key success factors. Now, out of that, I'm hoping that you've started to list some things out. Have you? You managed to get that going? Can I have a look at yours?
Yeah,
I'm choosing you because I think you'd be brilliant. You know?
I've done current.
No pressure.
I've done current, and I've just started to do future. Future's
okay.
A lot bigger. But I'm on the resources section of future.
Oh, right, okay.
But
Yeah.
I've kind of mapped out the current.
Okay. Industry success factors. This is, of course, a cleaning business.
Yeah.
So, what are your industry success factors?
Quality of service. So, how good you clean the place and how
okay.
happy with that.
Okay. What is quality in that context?
So, no job gone unmissed. So no misses can be spotted. So like
you measure misses.
Well, we have a checklist and we make sure everything's ticked off.
Okay. Based on that measurement
so
device.
Have a checklist both for office and for domestic, and they leave that in the property signed off.
Okay.
So the customer knows exactly what's been done.
Yeah.
That's not something that's done.
Okay, so that quality element is what your critical success factor actually means.
Everything has been covered. Pricing is a key success factor because some people will undercut you on price, and pricing is a central point for big businesses if they're trying to.
Yeah. So pricing is always a difficult one to deal with, because if you can differentiate yourself in other ways, The problem with a lot of businesses is that they're in markets that they can't differentiate themselves, and then they end up undercutting themselves, and then they almost undercut themselves to such an extent that they can't sustain it. You know, you see this on the internet. Have you ever gone on eBay and started looking for things, and then you started to think, oh, it's a penny cheaper there? I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous behaviour, but you do, don't you? You know, and that you're undercutting everybody, and everybody's undercutting each other because they're not differentiating themselves at all in price, or on the product in any other way. So, but that's one of the downsides of internet-based. So that's interesting. So what we've got to try and do is, that's a critical success factor. We've got to have a positioning with regard to the other factors that you provided. Let's say it's the obvious, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, we've got to justify why we are slightly more expensive with the competitive advantage.
Because you're in a very competitive arena. And
service scope and reach. So obviously, if you can service a broader area and your brand has a bigger reach, that's a key success factor. So some companies will be here, Leeds and Manchester already. So if they're having a slow month in Sheffield, they'll be buffeted by Leeds and Manchester.
Can I ask you about your future then now?
Yeah. So
same criteria. Industry success factors for your future business.
So I always think the main will be that quality of service.
That's still there.
That's always be top. And then obviously, like I said, service scope. So being in more places.
So what does your future business do that's different to the one that you're currently doing?
Essentially, we'd still be offering the same services. There'd just be a bigger organisation around that.
I thought you said you might look at retail.
And obviously, there's retail as well.
Okay.
That could be built into that. side by side or underneath.
Yeah, yeah. So you're still investigating that as a possibility. Okay, right, okay. I'm happy with that. That's good stuff. After a few minutes, I mean, we've only been doing it for 15, 20 minutes before lunch. All right. Shall we have a look at one other? Shall we have a look at yours?
Okay.
Yeah. So, what are your critical success factors in your industry? Do you think in the current?
The product really needs to function. It says do what it says. You know,
on the tin.
Soothe babies' teething. Provide other soothing and stimulating experiences, sensory experiences for the baby. So it has to have, it's a teether. I can't just stick it in a beautiful box and the baby not use it.
It's a functional item.
Yeah, and we've put lots of research and development into how it's been, engineered.
So what does it differentiate? I mean, how has it been engineered?
Yeah, so it's based around some characters, so it can be really engaging for the baby visually.
Right.
But also practically for the parent, the fact it's been designed to stand up. So it's a toy as well as a teether. So lots of other teethers are just these rings, teething rings that just get laid flat on the table, can pick up germs. Ours has a real longevity behind it. Got a patent pending on the design. It's been engineered in such a way that makes it unique. It's really unique. It's made from medical grade silicone, so you can sterilise it. Again, another feature that competitors don't have. It's made in the UK. Again, another USP for us. And then so it's really quality made. And then we packaged it up beautifully to offer an amazing gift with a real function for the baby. But it's a beautiful gift for the gift giver to give and receive. So we're talking about evoking all these lovely emotions of wow, this person really cares about me. So there's a little bit.
I think there's a lot in what you say there. Can I just be slightly critical as well? You've described the product there. You're not telling me the industry success factors.
Well, that's why I should have asked you to clarify what I'm probably still a bit unclear about what you mean by industry success factors. What do you mean by industry?
I said it before, but I mean, others might be struggling with this as well but what is it that you need to get right to succeed in your industry sector? That's in a nutshell. What is it that you need to get right? That could be product, it could be also other things.
It's probably a combination of product and brand for us. Together. And
what about the future state then? Given that you've got a very good product already, and it is, and I've seen it, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. But that's your business as conceived currently.
Yes.
So what is it that we're now going to see if we can step change it a bit? What is the future?
The future is definitely building the brand, so we can bring out other products under that umbrella that sit underneath the Squidge and Pip brand. So as I mentioned before, an app.
Right. That's
interesting. An app for babies and toddlers.
Right. So
about learning and development, aiding babies' development. So again, it goes back to the functionality. We can't just churn out loads of products. There's no point having a blanket and sticking the Squidge and Pip label on it and saying, hey, we've got another product. There's real passion and integrity in what we do.
Okay. That's interesting. Interesting. You say, who is your customer in this case then? I mean.
So I guess it's probably a chain of events. So someone gets bought the Squidge and Pip teether as a gift, so it's the mother. The babies really like it. The mother likes the brand and the story behind it.
Yeah.
And then seeks alternative products.
Yeah.
Or is aware of, as the baby grows, Squidge and Pip's a really great company. They've got lots of other developmental toys that can aid babies.
That is why I'm asking. Yeah, because.
But there's real ethical.
Stuff behind it.
Stuff made in the UK, it's quality made. It's not made in an Asian factory. It's just churned out, hundreds of thousands of units, get cheapest price. There's different elements to our story. I'm not sure if I'm articulating.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying. The reason for asking that, pressing that point, is that if we know who the market, who is going to buy this, ultimately we can then start working through what is it that's appealing to them. Obviously the child isn't buying it.
No.
So our customer is somebody else.
But the child needs to enjoy it.
Oh yes.
And it needs to be used, so they buy alternative products, or then they buy it for their friend.
Yeah.
So it is a cycle of both, really.
So,
you can't forget about one or the other.
No, but what you're trying to do is, for the future state, is really develop the brand, and you think one of the ways to develop the brand is an app. Is that
one
right?
of the ways?
Yeah, one of the ways.
Yeah.
Okay. Which might not be the right way, but that's something we can explore. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, and going for the present market.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's good. Can I just there's another section to this in your workbooks. There's another little model. I mean, obviously, what we've got to try and do is put some meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Here. You did it. You started getting into the issue of resources. Okay. And I'd like us all to look at the resources. Again, still on page 9. Right. Now, if you're going to go into retail and you're going to go into an app, right, and you're going to go into something, etc., etc., then there's going to be a whole set of things that we're going to have to put into place. We're not sure what they are yet, because we're not even sure what the it is. But we have to start thinking about our own resources in here, you know. I quite like the idea that ultimately, once we've developed our strategic view of how we're going to do it, and we've tested it using this experimentalism, etc., and we get more refined in our understanding of what it is, I like the idea that we're going to go together and see if we can get an innovation badge, you know, or something like that, you know. But of course, in order to do that, we're going to have to put a really good case together. And that's what this is about. So where is it that we need the financial support, you know? I mean, you're talking about going to retail. You might have to think about your physical space, of course, if you're holding stock, you know. Sheffield's great. Sheffield's really cheap, you know. So it's not usually a problem, but, you know, you still have to pay a few £100 a month, you know, or whatever. If you're going to go into your app, what is the technology and what's it going to do, you know? And how are you going to develop that? Because the ultimate goal isn't not the app per se, it's the brand, reputation, etc. And putting over the ideals that you have for your business, the altruistic or green, or, you know, and then, of course, you're going to have a whole set of skills that you're going to have to bring in. App building isn't necessarily too difficult nowadays, but it still is quite a skilled job, you know. You know, the collaboration, communication with different individuals and people, and try and drive that all in. Now, my experience of this, for what it's worth, is that when you start a new business, you're almost alone. Right? And I've always tried to find people I can work with, you know, and try to find a way of working with them. So the crowdfunding, right? The guy who came on the last Catalyst programme, I sort of realised that he had certain strengths. He's a pain in the arse a lot of the time, let me tell you. But he has also got some really good strengths. And I suggested that we did this in a particular way, harnessing some of those strengths. I won't bore you with the details, but it's almost like finding a way to work with people and a basis to work. So I suggested a particular working relationship, promising that if we worked together on something, it would transpire in such a way, you know. And so searching for people who can support you in a given process is key, you know, and bringing their what they can bring out to make it to make it work as far as possible. And of course, we don't have resources to pay people. You know. Before now, what I've done in those circumstances, if it's any of any interest to you, I've created things like options agreements. An options agreement is something that you can sort of say, okay, you can buy so many shares in the business at current rate, should we succeed in such and such, you know. So if your turnover goes up by, you know, you look at your spider and say, okay, right, if turnover does increase by 40% in the first year and 60% in the second year, then I'm willing to give a business partner some of the shares. Now that's a win-win, really. It's not saying you have to. It's not saying that you're spreading your business. You're just giving the option for them to buy a certain number of shares should they help you succeed. You know, it's called an options agreement. The options agreements can apply to lots of different things, anything, but typically they're applied to shares. And that's how I've done it really in the past, to try and get people seeing that actually if they can make this work, they hopefully can make a bit of money or make a living or do something good, you know. With a small business, of course, you've got no value in it at the point at which you are promising these things. So it has to be connected to the business plan, you know. So when we're talking about things, resources, we're searching for what is constraining us and what we might be able to do differently or think differently within that constraint. We try to shackle the constraints. We say, okay, they're not such big constraints. We can find ways forward. We can find ways forward on the finances if we've got a really good business plan. We've bottomed out the risk, etc., and we know what we're doing, and we can go to different finance houses or small business loan grants, etc. People, small businesses have loads of support in this country compared to many other countries, and so we've got different structures in place. I've used them in the past, and I've applied on behalf of companies to get small business loans, or which have usually a very good rate, or innovation vouchers or things like this. One of the recent companies who was on the Catalyst, I think they just went for, he was a young lad who ended up going for, what do you call it, the Princess Trust Fund, a bit of support capital to get his business going. And that's worked quite well. I think he's just got about 5 or 10 grand, I think, in the end.
Got the under 35.
Yes, that's right, yeah. He was under 24.
Don't qualify for it.
Yeah, I don't
Good to be
believe you.
younger.
I don't believe you.
You're going to be a certain age, yeah.
Yes, well, for that one, yes. But there are other small business grants. But you've got to think what the government think. The government say, right, they've got a good business plan. It might have legs. It'll take people off the unemployment register. It's worth us investing in some things, because if we can support them for a couple of years, they pay it back anyway. If it's a good business plan, and they take themselves and possibly others off the unemployment register. So the government are very supportive of all of this, But
knowing where.
Yes, knowing where and when, and you've got to get your business plan really watertight, and that's what we've got to work on. So what I'd like to do now, I know that you've started it, but I'd like to get into that resources. Can you list out what resource you might have a plan, right? A plan that's actually not really a plan yet. I'll call it it. We've not defined the it yet. But let's suppose we have, and you're working on your branding, let's say, and your app. I'm not sure if that's it in your case. You're working on you're working on something rather similar actually, with some form of educational gadget. So let's just define that as the it. You're working on your retail side for your business. We could go around the group and just have a look at the other bits and bobs. But let's just list out the resources that we need or will constrain us to achieve that. And then we'll be exploring at the same time areas that we think we might be able to overcome, you know, with the right sort of guile. Okay? So we just have 15 minutes. No, 10. 10 minutes, and then maybe we'll share. We'll cross-check. We'll share each other's ideas. Okay?
John, you don't ask easy questions, do you?
No. No, I'll tell you something.
That's not fun.
These models, these frameworks and stuff like this, they look absolutely dead easy. But when you start applying them into your own business, it's just not easy. You know, there's so many different options that you could take, and it moves around all the time. Especially in the early stages, you're thinking, oh, if I did that, oh, I could do that. And it takes a lot of precision, you know. But that's what I'd like to try and get to today. Almost like we can't define our strategy in an afternoon, but what we can do is know what we need to know to define it, if that makes any sense. Okay, so 10 minutes on your own, and then share it with your colleagues. How are you, Frank?
Yeah, rolling.
Yeah, rolling.
How's it going here?
Yeah, all right, yeah.
I heard what's constrained us now. What's the second part?
What we need, well, what resources you need to expand.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Kind of look at what resources you have. What you've got at this present stage.
It's almost deadline
What
for
resources
one
you
of our
need to
bids.
expand.
is it?
Okay. The last one.
Yeah, yeah. Is that the German one?
Yeah. I'm shaking the last two people.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it?
yeah.
So, you're on secondment really. Are you permanent at Innova? When are you going back? When are you going?
Probably June.
June. Okay. And what are you doing then?
We'll see if everything's open.
Okay. You're not thinking. Are you going backpacking? Are you?
Yeah, but that's in April.
Okay.
And that needs to be seen because everything's going wrong. You know, I have to apply for 3 visas, and at some point, with every one of the 3 visas, there was a problem. 2 of them got rejected, so I had to reapply. Different.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, but it's gonna be fun.
Well, at least you don't face Brexit, do you? I'm applying for my Polish citizenship, you know that?
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah. So I've had to be digging around to get my dad's documents and stuff. It's taken ages because we haven't got his birth certificate. So that's the key document. But
you don't speak Polish.
no, well that's another problem, yeah.
You have to do a test then.
A Polishness test. Well, actually, no, because my father was Polish, I am actually Polish in their eyes. I've just got to prove it.
It's the same with Ukrainians who can prove that their grandmother even was Polish, and they still have the right to.
Yeah.
You got enough Poland for that.
Yeah. But you know, my dad went into the Russian work camps, you know, a little bit, you know, so, and all their documentation was stolen, you know, when they were in the camps. So we don't have any of it.
That's become really common.
Yes, I think it is common.
You just need to do a blood test to show that there is a Polish coffee in your blood.
Yeah, beetroot.
Yeah.
Eat loads of beetroot.
What's it called? Bison grass.
What's that?
Bison grass. They're really, really good Polish.
Oh yes, yes, yes. That's right. Yes.
What's it called? Suplica.
Yeah. Suplica is marvellous stuff.
Hazelnut.
It's amazing stuff. Have you tried Polish vodka? It's so different from the vodka you get in supermarkets.
It's not like the taste is disgusting stuff. It's actually tastes good. Especially the Suplica tastes like hazelnut. And the bison grass, you need to mix with apple juice and then.
But the other thing is the after effect. It's like, whoa.
The next step is vodka in Belarus.
I bet it's similar.
Probably.
Yeah, I would imagine it's quite similar to the Polish. Could I ask you now to swap stories? And I'd like the operation of the think tank now to kick in. And do you know what I mean by that? I want one of you to be telling the others what you think your key resources are and capabilities, barriers, etc. And I want the others to try and hone in and improve their thinking. Okay, so you're going to have to describe the resources that you think are absolutely essential. I think we might as well just have a look at the whole model whilst we. So we sort of what are the key industry success factors for the What is the competitive advantage that you're getting by doing that? Because we're actually starting to formulate a strategy here. And then down here, what are the barriers, what are the resources, and what are the resource constraints, and what do you think you might be able to do about those? Okay. So one of you articulate it to the other presses, so we can get a bit more precision into it. Okay. I'll leave you to do that for a few minutes. I might join in your groups as well.
Have you mapped out the
not in totality, I've done it in bits.
I didn't really finish it.
That's something I need to do.
No, because I think it's more complicated.
Look at what resources have you done? Resources for. Have you looked at resources in terms of what you've got currently?
Visual future, they're the boxes.
Yes, yeah.
Growth of business, so it
Shall I go first?
Yeah.
And almost franchise. I think that's
Next time I'm going to make sure I have at least 12 hours sleep before I go.
You're just
so currently
Oh, you're...
Yes, I don't want to do a suitcase.
So my strategy is like
Oh, you don't have
having an educational
so you need to be
in the
researching
future,
and
whether that's
design.
like focusing on ebooks and
I think to
making
start
launching
them
or something. I'm
How
not
soon
sure.
is it?
But currently in terms
So
of
what's your time frame?
I
the boxes?
for myself.
2 weeks time.
Oh, 2 weeks.
Yeah, because this got they are giving more community room. They have a community room and establishment.
So what are you going to use?
Sketchbook and things.
So
you're going to get
an online
Sorry?
What are you going to get
in terms
into?
of resources so I can like hopefully bounce from.
Yeah.
I've got somewhat of a small focus group that I can
So what's going to
turn
be
to
inside
for
it?
some research.
So it's going to be crayons, paper,
And I've got a university business coach who I can
painting,
go from
So in one box, in one single box.
and then it's
and
going
that's
to
all I've
be
really got at the
on a
minute.
table a box.
In terms of what I need to
Okay,
expand,
so will there be
I've
like
got
any labeling on the boxes? Like,
Sorry?
any
resource
labeling?
wise,
Like,
I need
are you
a
going to
team.
call the box anything? How?
Roxy.
Well, that's
Or is it
hopefully
going to
paid
be called?
workers,
So
but
every, so you will have like how
in
many?
the shorter term, in the future, whether that's
When you go
1
to
years, I need
I
to
don't
like
know.
focus on
Oh, it
getting the
depends on
right
the group.
type of
It
people.
depends on the
How large you could,
And it's
then
finding
you'll have to
them,
be
which is
making.
a nightmare, isn't it?
So
Are we thinking like the big
Collaboration
biggest
I've got on
strategy
there,
there?
because I think that's quite important for me.
strategic? We're thinking about
With this is the thing,
when
whether it's with
Every care home in the country to have a
well, I need to know exactly what my it is.
So let's think about that then. What resources do you need
If it's like
to get to that?
How big is that market?
The care homes?
see on my spider diagram, I've got
They
a
are
brochure with schools and
there were about 60 care
blah,
homes
blah,
in
blah. I think
Sheffield,
in
about
what I'm
45,
thinking of is
60.
one
Just
in the field.
Just in Sheffield alone.
So not schools.
Yeah,
so
but
in
that's
terms of
your
someone that
piece,
would
is
help
that
me with
So you'll start with
key
the local.
success factor.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
be in every care
so
home.
collaborating
Yeah, but
with,
then-
So
I
what
don't know, give
can
me
you
someone
really
that's
drill
good
that
at
down
it
like
and
and
look
put
at
the figures?
I don't know what does
You need to know
I
that
or
in
Pixar.
more detail.
Yes.
don't know, someone like that.
Mean.
But
So how do
collaborating
you
with
scale
someone
this?
in the field,
That's not lots.
I think is important for me.
In terms of if you're gonna say
What people,
a box
what roles
in
would
every
you need
care
to,
home.
what would you want to work with?
I mean,
For-
Yeah, what,
where's the
who would you want to hire?
the
What
business
kind of
is
positions
that?
would
That's
they be
not
doing?
a lot. After they've gotten a box, then how
Okay,
long does a box
so
last?
I had in
We
mind
can top up these boxes.
I'm gonna try offer.
Yeah.
And there's also a bigger picture that you can get it into people's
so
homes.
I'm thinking of the it on
Yeah.
not the
You have
business.
websites and you get to
So for the it I'd have to have like
Can I ask you what is the box? What does it consist of?
Well, we thought the box to have creative
app
materials
producers
to meet
or
people's needs.
yeah,
So
or
you
software
can have a combination
developers.
of
So
crayons,
those types of
pencils,
people.
various
I was thinking
these
of
people, who are the boxes targeted?
People with dementia, people with long-term conditions.
The way I'm thinking of it is having it autonomous. So removing me from the equation, having a system that does whatever that it is itself, so I'm not needed. Does that make sense?
So having that mean their own home
in the design of the business, so that it takes me out of it. It's just like launching it out in the world of technology and having an
first
online
you
presence.
need to personalise them and ask them about their hobbies and about the passion you want to reach to someone.
No,
say
but
that.
my mom, she's clean.
Okay.
She doesn't go out,
No.
but she doesn't really have hobbies.
So
She's like
collaboration with people in the field.